Christmas week the safest for its residents. As Judy Cordero reports, Hialeah police officers urge you to stay away from drinking and driving.
Driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs is the most common cause of motor vehicle deaths, especially during the holiday season. The Hialeah Police Department is ready to reduce vehicle crashes in their city. Police officials have a special holiday safety plan, and as Hialeah Police Chief Rolando Bolaños tells us, don't even think of drinking and driving in Hialeah.
There will be a drunk driving task force that will be looking out for those circumstances under which we suspect that a driver is operating under the influence. We will make arrests, and we will either help you enjoy your holidays or make a miserable holiday for you.
Last year, about 200 traffic crashes were alcohol-related, and police officers apprehended over 1,000 driving under the influence offenders. This year so far, the number of alcohol-related deaths is 25.
Don't be in such a rush, and take your time and be aware of the other driver and drive defensively.
Police officers are going to be patrolling over a dozen of the city's areas like Olive Red Road, Olive Okeechobee Road, and Palm Avenue, to name a few. Sergeant Samuel Ceballos says it's okay to drink, just don't try to get behind the wheel.
If you're going to drink, please don't drive. Designate someone in your family who might necessarily not like to drink and have them drive you to the party, or when that's not possible, take a taxi.
Police officials would like to remind you that there is an increase in traffic during the holiday season, so if you're going to drive, please wear your seatbelt. It can save your life. For Dynamic Headline News from Hialeah, I'm Judy Cordero.
The forecast for Saturday calls for sunny skies and temperatures in the low 80s. But in the city of Hialeah, things were a little different. At Goodletts Park, they got snow, and the kids loved it. For the 6th year in a row, the Department of Parks and Recreation sponsored the Snow Blast with the help of a donation from Royal Palm Ice Company, which provides the park with over 40 tons of artificial snow every year. It gave the kids a chance to spend a sunny afternoon playing in the snow without having to go through a long, harsh winter.
Families and citizens here just love it. Each year we just see more and more people come, and a lot of the same people come each year to enjoy this event. It just accents the holidays.
I guess it makes kids more in the Christmas spirit, because then they say, oh, I saw snow, and oh, Santa Claus is going to come, and I'm going to have a happy Christmas.
We play catch right here, and we throw ourselves to the snow, and I like it because I've never been to the snow, and it's fun. And it's fun sliding yourself and throwing yourself down to the snow. It's very fun to play in snow, and because here in Florida it doesn't snow.
The kids and their parents got a little taste of a white Christmas in sunny South Florida. That's all the news for now, but we'll be back in 24 minutes. We now return you to CNN Headline News.
Avanti European.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarket.
Dynamic Headline News, I'm Sandra Peebles. A Cuban defector returns to Cuba and brings his wife and 2 children safely to freedom in the United States. Major Orestes Lorenzo made headlines nearly 2 years ago when he defected from Cuba in a Soviet-built MiG, landing in Key West. On Saturday, the former major for the Cuban Air Force outsmarted Castro's government once again by flying a borrowed twin-engine plane onto the northern coast of the island. His wife and 2 sons were waiting for him in brightly colored clothes so they could be identified by Lorenzo. Because of his escape, Castro's government had forbidden Lorenzo's family to leave Cuba. He says he launched the daring mission in order to cut the red tape and bureaucracy and to get his children and his wife out of Cuba. Cuban migrants are reaching the Florida coast by the dozens. This weekend, the Coast Guard reports 32 migrants were rescued in 8 separate incidents. The total number of rescues for this year is at 2,547, about 300 more than listed for 1991. And these days, Hialeah firefighters aren't just putting out fires, they're also lighting the flame of hope in the homes of the needy. Monday morning, more than 30 Hialeah families opened their doors to a tasty surprise. Firefighters came to these homes for the turkey dinner, several toy bags, and a Christmas tree. The Hialeah Firefighters Benevolent Association has been delivering holiday dinners for 20 years. But given that the hurricane left some families with nothing, the firefighters wanted to make sure that the kids would at least have presents to open on Christmas Day.
Your mother lost a lot?
Well, she lost like most of everything.
Yeah. You're barely making it right now.
Yeah.
In this way, you can help, it's really helping the community and the kids. I guess it's all for the kids. I mean, if you're a parent and this Christmas you have nothing to give your kids and see a bunch of guys walking in with gifts and stuff, it's really, it would really touch me. It would be something that really make me feel very happy.
This giveaway means that more than 60 kids in our community won't go without toys this holiday season. And the Hialeah Police Department was also out on a Santa mission on Monday afternoon. The officers visited a special class of physically and mentally handicapped students in Hialeah Middle School, bringing them toys for the holidays. This is the 9th year the department hosts this toy giveaway in an effort to brighten the holidays of those who are less fortunate.
This year is the first time that the Hialeah Police Department has gone out and collected and gotten involved in making sure that many children in the community receive a Christmas present.
When children appreciate the police and the police appreciate the children, it enhances the community and it serves a basis for a foundation in the future. These children here are to us, are one of the most important citizens that Hialeah has because they're children.
Each student received a gift, but besides that, the police department gave the class a VCR and an audio system. And turning to sports news, the city of Hialeah will host the 3rd annual Major League World Softball Tournament in January. The international event will feature teams from 12 different countries, and organizers hope the spectator turnout will be just as successful as it was last year, with over 42,000 fans enjoying the 5-day event. Money raised will go to finance out-of-state trips for Little League baseball teams in Hialeah. The games begin on January 11th, and Dynamic Cablevision will be there to catch the event. We'll bring highlights to you. That's all the news for now, but we'll be back in 24 minutes with more headlines. We'll see you then.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarket.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. 18-year-old David Castillo was honored with a key to the city of Hialeah on Tuesday for his outstanding work in community service. Castillo, valedictorian of Hialeah High School last year, founded the Hialeah Network, a service club dedicated to helping AIDS patients, the elderly, and abused children. Castillo is one of 10 young adults in the nation to receive the National Caring Award. The honor was presented to him in Washington, D.C. earlier this month, along with a $5,000 scholarship he will use for his studies at Yale. Castillo tells us how it all started.
Well, originally it started out as a spiritual quest. I really wanted to do something in terms of helping other people. And it started out originally working with the abused kids and worked my way into working with the elderly and starting parties with them. And about 2.5 years ago, I started working with AIDS patients, and it's still going on.
If you would like to get involved in the Hialeah Network, you can contact Mary Stiefkin at Hialeah High School. Orientation for new members will be on the 30th of this month. And turning to holiday news, these days most of us are busy making last-minute Christmas preparations, but for many in our community this Christmas there will be no presents to open or even a meal to prepare. As Marta Interiano reports, members of the Hialeah Blanche Morton neighborhood and city officials are finding the time and goods to make a difference for those families.
And the color of the season for Nereida Martinez and her 3 sons. Nereida, a single parent, lost her job a year ago, and since then she can barely make ends meet. But this turkey dinner, provided by the Hialeah Blanche Morton neighborhood with the help of community businesses, will at least put a spark of hope into their holiday celebration.
We didn't have anything planned as far as this Christmas because I'm unemployed right now, and so we're really looking forward to this Christmas. With the help of everybody here, this nice, community agency.
Sonia Rezio will also take the turkey dinner home. Knowing that there are hundreds of families who will go without a Christmas meal, she feels lucky to be among the 30 that got a visit from Santa this day.
We're unemployed on this table, and it really helps, and I really appreciate it.
You had no plans for Christmas so far?
No, nothing at all.
You couldn't plan?
No, I just made a phone call, and hopefully with God's help, I just got in touch with them, and
They told me to come on. And the other people enjoying and planning their activities for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and you have these type of families that don't have the same joy. We try to make it as joyful and as productive as possible.
The Hialeah Police Crime Prevention Unit also pitched in the food basket with cookies. But despite all this help from the community, there's still many that will not get a taste of the holidays.
There is a waiting list. I have two ladies right there that just came in because they heard that we were going to do it, and I told them, I'm sorry, but we have already, our list, and the people are here.
In Hialeah, Marta Interiano, Dynamic Headline News.
The city of Hialeah had a toy giveaway on Tuesday morning for needy families. Hundreds of toys were donated by Maria Tavares, who lost her baby just a month ago. Tavares wanted to spread the joy of Christmas with other children in the community. For some parents, these toys may be the only ones their kids will get this holiday season.
Great. This is great. It is, because otherwise I didn't have me myself. I don't have any income coming in. My husband only has his Social Security check. And I applied for disability, but so far I haven't gotten anything. And without this, the children wouldn't really have a good Christmas this year.
Some kids and their parents were there to get their goodies, but for those who couldn't make it, the toys were delivered by city employees. And as it turns out, some fire stations in Hialeah won't be closing down after all. We'll have that story coming up in 24 minutes.
Sedano Supermarkets.
Cash for Hot Guns program just days ago. The radio station is giving anyone who turns in an illegal weapon $50. Those interested can turn in guns at any Metro-Dade police station. No ID required. Police say they are hoping to find answers to some unsolved crimes. The South Florida Firearms Owners Association would like to remind you to celebrate the New Year safely. Shooting bullets into the air is dangerous and illegal. A stray bullet may end up costing someone's life. The association says the best place to enjoy shooting is at a firing range. And in Coral Gables, thousands of people lined the streets of the city beautiful Tuesday evening to enjoy the glitter and excitement of the Junior Orange Bowl Parade. Visitors, young and old, cheered as bands, clowns, and cheerleaders marched by. Judy Cordero was there and brings us the highlights.
For the 44th year in a row, an uncountable number of Floridians marched to the rhythm of the bands at the Junior Orange Bowl Parade in Coral Gables. Every year, the streets fill up with smiling, wondrous faces, wanting to see what the next float will bring. Some of the spectators say they wouldn't miss it for the world.
I think it's great. I was coming here when I was a little kid, and now I'm bringing my children, and it's wonderful.
I came from Houston, Texas to see it. My parents live here in Miami, so this is the first time I've seen it at night.
I think it's nice.
What do you like about it?
I like the cheerleading and the gymnastics.
The parade hosted bands from all over the United States. A United Airlines plane took off for the viewers to see, and if you've never seen pink elephants, well, here's one. And Casper the Friendly Ghost glided over the Coral Gables sky.
I'm very happy to live in this country, especially in Miami, because all the Latin people with the America, we are all together.
My daughter's been participating for the past 3 years, so it's real exciting.
Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, gymnasts, baton twirlers, and even Recyclo and Captain Crime Watch waved at the crowd.
Many here say the parade was a success, and without a doubt, they'll be back to see the floats once more next year. For Dynamic Headline News from Coral Gables, I'm Judy Cordero.
That's all for now, but we'll have more news for you when we return in just 24 minutes.
Dollar Rose is love. For that special occasion, roses...
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. The city of West Miami is working out the final details on the legal complications of the first phase of the city's sewer project. The city is trying to clear up the legal affairs so it can lay the groundwork for the second phase. Jusila Ramirez has details.
For the past 3 years, the city of West Miami has been battling with the problems of the first phase of the sewer.
Most complications stem from defective work done by Rocco Ferrero, the company hired to draw plans for the project. The mayor of West Miami, Pedro Reboredo, assures that mistakes in the first phase will not be repeated in the second.
Now we're sure that most everything is corrected. The system is functioning and is capable of tying up to the second phase, which is very important, because the lift stations are going to pick up everything from the second phase.
The defective plans have cost the city nearly $1 million. They've only been able to recuperate half that amount. And ultimately, the consequences will be paid by the residents, who will have to pay a higher amount on their water bills once the second phase is put into effect.
All that's left is a matter of a determination of whether we should take an appeal or not. And this commission decided we should. So the matter of risk is no longer an issue because we are going to do it.
The city of West Miami reached an agreement to appeal on the first phase of the sewer project, and construction for the second phase will begin in January of 1993. In West Miami, this is Yusila Ramirez reporting for Dynamic Headline News.
And turning to crime news, about 20 handguns have been turned into authorities since the radio station Hot 105 launched its Cold Cash for Hot Guns program just days ago. The radio station is giving anyone who turns in an illegal weapon $50. Those interested can turn in guns at any Metro-Dade police station, no ID required. Police say they are hoping to find answers to some unsolved crimes. The South Florida Firearms Owners Association would like to remind you to celebrate the New Year safely. Shooting bullets into the air is dangerous and illegal. A stray bullet may end up costing someone's life. The association says the best place to enjoy shooting is at a firing range. And in Coral Gables, thousands of people line the streets of the City Beautiful Tuesday evening to enjoy the glitter and excitement of the Junior Orange Bowl Parade. Visitors, young and old, cheered as bands, clowns, and cheerleaders marched by. Judy Cordero was there and brings us the highlights.
For the 44th year in a row, an uncountable number of Floridians marched to the rhythm of the bands at the Junior Orange Bowl Parade in Coral Gables. Every year, the streets fill up with smiling, wondrous faces, wanting to see what the next float will bring. Some of the spectators say they wouldn't miss it for the world.
I think it's great. I was coming here when I was a little kid, and now I'm bringing my children, and it's wonderful.
I came from Houston, Texas to see it. My parents live here in Miami, so this is the first time I've seen it at night.
I think it's nice.
What do you like about it?
I like the cheerleading and the gymnastics.
The parade hosted bands from all over the United States. A United Airlines plane took off for the viewers to see, and if you've never seen pink elephants, well, here's one. And Casper the Friendly Ghost glided over the Coral Gables sky.
I'm very happy to live in this country, especially in Miami, because all the Latin people with the America, we are all together.
My daughter's been participating for the past 3 years, so it's real exciting.
Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, gymnasts, baton twirlers, and even Recyclo and Captain Crime Watch waved at the crowd.
Many here say the parade was a success, and without a doubt, they'll be back to see the floats once more next year. For Dynamic Headline News from Coral Gables, I'm Judy Cordero.
That's all for now, but we'll have more news for you when we return in just 24 minutes.
Dollar Rose is love. For that special occasion,
the American Red Cross is appealing to the community to donate blood in order to avert an expected critical shortage. During the winter months, blood usage increases because there is more crime and accidents. On the other hand, less people are donating because everyone is so busy during the holidays. Red Cross officials say the shortage, which occurs every year at about this time, is worsened by the devastation of Hurricane Andrew. Blood drives will be going on at local malls. If you're interested in helping out, please call the American Red Cross at 326-8888. That number again is 326-8888. That's all for this edition of Dynamic Headline News. We'll be back in 24 minutes with more local headlines. We'll see you then.
You're in.
Más seca, as always.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. The expansion plan for Doctors Hospital has been put on hold, at least for the time being. Friday, a Dade Circuit judge declared that an ordinance which allows the construction of 2 buildings on the land that houses the hospital is unconstitutional. Last April, a group of residents filed a lawsuit against the city and the hospital for the ordinance that permits the construction of a 4-story medical building and a 6-level parking garage. They allege the ordinance is invalid because they weren't given sufficient notice of the public hearing. The hearing was in 1988. They say they found out about it in February of last year. The City Commission decided during Tuesday's meeting to appeal the case.
I've charged the city manager, and the commission has agreed with me to pursue a mediator. In this case, Gary F. Canner, who is a specialist and attorney at law who specializes in mediation, and see if there's not some common ground that the city could possibly work out with the Save Gable zoning organization and try to come to a amicable decision as to what could be built there and how it would look and how soon.
I believe Judge Goldman is absolutely 110% correct on this particular situation. We took a day and a half to try the case. He heard the evidence on both sides, took testimony, took documents into evidence, and rendered what is a perfectly appropriate and correct.
The judge also gave the city the option of holding another public hearing and readopting the ordinance, making sure this time the residents are informed. Miami Springs is doing all it can to keep the Curtis Mansion as part of the city's patrimony. The mansion is up for sale and the city wants to buy the property. But as Yusina Ramirez reports, the city is facing many difficulties along the way.
The Curtis Mansion has been a part of Miami Springs' history for the past 68 years, and now the city is fighting to keep the historic landmark. Monday night during the council meeting, Mayor Jack Dewhurst indicated it's not only the mansion the city is interested in, but the land that surrounds it.
The adjacent property is important, is it's currently zoned for multifamily. Without too much problems, perhaps in the neighborhood of 200 units of apartments could go in that same area. And the city of Miami Springs is interested in something else, possibly a townhouse zoning or some lower density zoning around the golf course.
The mansion was put up for sale by the Fort House Trust Company, and Miami Springs bid $733,000 on it, which was not accepted. During the meeting, it was mentioned the company might have taken it as an insult, saying the property's appraised value is more than $1 million.
We are under certain constraints, of course, which they're not favorable of, but by law we have to go by them. There are 2 other offers, unsolicited offers that they have received that they're also negotiating with.
In order for the city to purchase the mansion, they must have 2 appraisals, which will cost them approximately $9,200. The city has applied for a grant that will help them pay for the expenses. The city of Miami Springs has 3 options now. They can wait for the state to approve the grants, they can work in conjunction with the Historical Society, or the city itself can pay for the costs. In Miami Springs, this is Yusila Ramirez reporting for Dynamic Headline News.
The city of West Miami is considering the passage of a city code to discourage residents from painting their houses in loud colors. The city is acting at the request of a group of residents that expressed concern over the growing popularity of dark colors for homes. The city attorney says that legally the code can be adopted, but the commission is split on the issue. Members will continue the review and discussion of this issue before they take action. And will Alberto San Pedro be extradited to Cuba? We'll have that story coming up in just 24 minutes.
McDonald's supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Will the once-called corruptor of Hialeah be extradited to his native homeland of Cuba? Well, Alberto San Pedro and his lawyers are hoping it won't come to that. Reporter Jeanette Oropesa spoke to them Tuesday morning and brings us an update on the situation.
In 1986, he was charged, then convicted of cocaine conspiracy, and now Alberto San Pedro of Hialeah may go before an immigration judge to determine if he should be deported to Cuba. San Pedro came from the island when he was 5 years old and has been a legal resident in the United States for nearly 37 years. He feels it would be unjust to be sent back.
It's like breaking the family up. My mother's been here
since I have. My father came in the 40s. My brother is American. He was born here. My children are American. My wife is American. So it's like we feel that cannot happen.
At this point, I think that the government should just leave Albert alone. He's been in this country 36 and a half years or 37 years, and this is the only country he really knows. If they were to issue a deportation order, he would be stripped of his legal residency, which he had before he even came to this country.
San Pedro's lawyer, Fred Schwartz, believes the deportation action may be related to a bitter legal battle between his client and former U.S. Attorney Dexter Leighton.
Former U.S. Attorney's Office under Dexter Leighton breached the plea agreement and prevented Immigration Service from just eliminating any case regarding Albert.
San Pedro was supposed to appear before an immigration judge today, but his lawyers were able to delay that hearing until February 9th. Reporting for Dynamic Headline News, I'm Jeanette Oropesa.
And in other news, a 14-year-old Coral Gables High School student was struck by a car as she got off her school bus Monday afternoon. The 1979 Mazda that hit her left the scene, but the driver was caught by police shortly after the incident. Marlene Quesada is charged with failing to yield right-of-way to a pedestrian and with leaving the scene of an accident. The victim, Marlene Villalobos, was taken to Jackson Memorial Hospital, where she is in serious but stable condition. The incident occurred at Northwest 47th Avenue and 7th Street. The disposal of garbage doesn't come cheaply in Dade County. Because of an increase in expensive, municipalities like West Miami are being forced to pay almost double the amount they were once charged to haul the city's trash to one of Dade's dumps. However, as Judy Cordero reports, West Miami has another alternative in mind.
Dade County is increasing the cost of living for its residents once more, says West Miami's Mayor Pedro Reboredo. This time by raising the amount municipalities must pay to have their trash hauled to a county dump. An ordinance mandates cities to dispose of their trash within Dade, penalizing those who cross the county's boundaries. Monday night during West Miami's commission meeting, the mayor said residents need to be protected from forever growing prices.
Broward was charging less to dispose of garbage over there. If we do that travel to Broward, to somewhere near Pompano, we can save the city about $30,000 a year.
2 years ago, West Miami paid $33 a ton to get rid of the garbage. In 1991, the price went up to $46 a ton, and in '93, the cost is $56. City officials fear the price could reach up to $100 a ton soon. Commissioner Rebecca Sosa strongly believes there has to be a stop to this.
They come with different ideas to give more cost and to add extra money to that, and then we find no way out. So it's time for everyone to stand and say, stop. We cannot keep paying that for the waste collection.
West Miami's Public Works Department will do a trial run to determine exactly how much it will cost to dispose of the garbage in Broward. If cheaper, that's the method they will use. For Dynamic Headline News, I'm Judy Cordero.
That's all for this edition. We'll be back in 24 minutes. This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Coral Gables City employees are starting the year with a big smile on their faces and more money in their pockets. In the first commission meeting of the year held Tuesday, officials unanimously approved a 5% wage increase that will affect the 830 city employees. For police officers, this raise is particularly gratifying after fighting a long battle to get it. The Fraternal Order of Police, which represents the 123 officers on the force, has been negotiating with the city administration since October. Union officials say this is a well-deserved pat on the back and surely does a lot for the morale of the department.
Not an easy negotiation this time. It was difficult in the fact of the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew, how the officers that I represent responded, how they came together for the city.
We're really happy. It's been a hard year. A lot of things happened, as we all know.
particularly in the police department. We had the loss of one of our police officers that happened on duty. Then the hurricane came around.
Through a series of meetings and negotiations, we come to a mutual agreement, hopefully, on what they believe and what we believe is a fair adjustment in their salaries.
The administration is also hiring 20 more police officers to bring the force to full capacity. James Robinson, the Coral Gables Police Department employee who's been there the longest, was awarded a special presentation this week. Robinson has been with the department for 40 years. The 69-year-old has served in several capacities. He began as a record supervisor, ran the police boat for 12 years, and he is currently in charge of fingerprinting. When asked how much longer he plans to stay, he told us that he'll be there until they run him off or until he collapses. Our congratulations to Mr. Robinson. And just to prove recent reports that heroin is replacing cocaine as a drug of choice, Coral Gables police have arrested a man who was attempting to sell a kilogram of the drug at a parking lot of a Toys R Us store. Coral Gables police and officials of the Drug Enforcement Administration arrested Carlos Altera Hernandez on December 28th. Police say the suspect tried to sell the kilo of heroin to undercover cops. The street value of that would have been more than $2 million. And in other news, the third annual World Softball Championship started off with a swing Tuesday night. The event began with a colorful inauguration of the teams representing 11 countries. As Yusila Ramirez reports, the goal of the championship is to bring together the different nations in the spirit of sportsmanship.
Players from 11 countries marched in waving their flags to kick off the third annual World Softball Championship held in Hialeah. Bucky Dent Park was the site of the first day of the tournament, sponsored by the Hialeah Baseball Academy. The event is an effort to bring harmony through sportsmanship.
It's to teach kids that there are other things more than drugs and vandalism, anything like that. There's sports of any type, not just softball or baseball. There's all different kinds of sports that will give them a healthy tomorrow, not just for them, but for their own kids.
The exchange for participating in the tournament was a chance for the players to demonstrate goodwill.
I feel that's a great idea for the kids, you know, keep them on the streets, you know, this is benefit, you know, kids that are having trouble, whatever, you know, the money that they raise here for the kids.
A lot of people is going to learn about what's happening in other people's countries, like, okay, you got some Cuban here, you got some Puerto Rican, you got some Dominican, especially in Aruba, you got some little problem, but if everybody unite together, I think they can do a lot of jobs.
Aside from the sportsmanship, it was fun to watch.
The tournament will continue until Sunday when the finalists will compete for the title of champions. As for the future of the Hialeah Baseball Academy, they hope to make this a worldwide event. In Hialeah, this is Yusila Ramirez reporting for Dynamic Headline News.
That's all for this edition. We'll be back in 24 minutes with more local headlines. Now we leave you with CNN Headline News. In October of 1926, this picture, for example, captured one of the first passenger flights from Miami to Havana in 1928.
This is a photograph of Charles Lindbergh in the cockpit there. He's in the cockpit of this mail plane that landed in Havana in February of 1928.
And here in this, the oldest flight record book of Pan Am, you'll find the names of those daring passengers. You'll be introduced to the pioneer and founder of the airline, Juan Trippe, whose vision made Pan Am soar to heights never before dreamed of. And read the letters that Charles Lindbergh sent to Trippe, mapping the routes which would later take us to new frontiers.
What's most striking is the matter-of-fact way that they're talking about creating an airline and flying across the Atlantic when it was inconceivable to many people.
This special collection is on display at the UM Library and also includes albums, scrapbooks, and mechanic and research reports. But the Pan Am Historical Foundation is also working on the opening of a museum which will display all sorts of memorabilia of the life of this giant of the airline industry.
We're going to have a lot of radio equipment, and we're going to have china, the china that was used to serve, and eating utensils, and a lot of pictures, very interesting pictures.
The Pan Am Historical Foundation is trying to establish the museum at Dinner Key. This This is where the first flight from Miami to Havana took off from in 1930. If you wish to contribute to the foundation with memorabilia or money, please call 858-1774. And in more local news closer to home, the city of West Miami is still trying to select an engineer who will supervise the new sewer system project for 1993. As Jusila Ramirez reports, plans for that project have been postponed once again.
The residents of West Miami were expecting to see a new sewer system this month, but what they got was another setback. The Commission of West Miami held a special meeting on Wednesday night to select the engineer who would be responsible for the inspection of the residential area sewer system. But only one of the three candidates showed up, and now the city finds itself running out of time.
We have a need. We're paying interest at 8%, and the longer every day we wait for it, it's money that we're wasting. Now, it's not that we want to rush things. It's just a matter that the longer we wait to begin building, it's the longer we will be able to collect.
The City Commission of West Miami is still in the process of looking for an engineer who will be responsible for inspecting the second phase of the sewer system.
I am going to have to go back into the files and review the qualifications of those people who have shown an interest and see if their qualifications are higher or lower than those who have recently submitted their qualifications, and if so, I must rank them.
The Commission's final decision will determine when residents like Connie Phillips will see an end to septic tank nightmare. City officials want to make sure the phase is not tampered with by any engineer or inspector who is supposed to scrutinize the plans and look for flaws on the job site. In West Miami, this is Jusila Ramirez reporting for Dynamic Headline News.
That's all for now. We now continue with the CNN Headline News.
Do your ear...
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Hialeah's Mayor Julio Martinez has ordered that the City Hall close down in observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Day. All municipal offices, with the exception of the police and fire departments, will be closed on Monday, January 18th. This is a first in the city of Hialeah, given that City Hall has traditionally been open on Martin Luther King Day. But according to the mayor, it's time for a change.
Last year, we had a little bit of commotion from our black community, mainly Mr. Don Scott, who came before the city council and asked us, why the city did not close, City Hall did not close on Martin Luther King's holiday, like every other city in the county. And, it put me to thinking, we have too many, holidays as it is now for city employees. But I found a way that we could do it, without hurting the city's budget.
The mayor says he will ask employees to take the day off using vacation, compensatory time, sick leave, or leave without pay, and employees are happy to oblige. And in education news, the wave of the future is breaking into the classroom. These days, you don't even have to go to school to take classes. All you need to do is pick up the phone. A school in Coral Gables is offering a course for Spanish speakers who would like to learn English. As Judy Cordero reports, there are many advantages to learning in the comfort of your own home.
No, she is not talking to herself. She's actually teaching a class. This is a typical setting for the teachers at Coral Gables Merrick Center English program. And that person at the end of the line is one of her students. This teaching method is designed for those who want to learn the English language but have difficulty getting to a classroom. We spoke to one of them by telephone.
I like English classes in my home. It's very good, very easy.
This class really is wonderful for them. If without this class, they would not be able to learn English.
According to Marsha Fulton, the assistant principal, there are many reasons why some can't go to school.
Many people are elderly, are afraid to go out because of crime, don't have transportation, or now we have a pretty new group that has small children, and they will work with the teachers on the phone at night. But
John Carrion of the Merrick Center tells us there are many advantages of learning at home.
By speaking on the telephone, a lot of the students are forced to develop comprehension skills quicker than other skills that may be utilized in a classroom setting.
The classes are free and open to the public. You can register anytime after 4 o'clock, and all you need to do is make a simple telephone call. For Dynamic Headline News from Coral Gables, I'm Judy Cordero.
For more information, call the Merrick Center at 448-1639. And this Sunday's football game between our very own Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills may just make your blood pump. The American Red Cross in Buffalo, New York has challenged South Florida's Red Cross to see who will receive the most donations of blood prior to the showdown. As it stands now, it doesn't look good for Miami. Buffalo has scored 1,648 pints of blood, while Miami lags behind with 992. Miami's Red Cross spokesperson, Marcia Garth, says South Florida continues to face a severe blood shortage.
We've not been blood supply independent in South Florida. All of us require 450 pints of blood every day for the patients in more than 60 hospitals from Palm Beach through the Keys.
I heard about the Miami Buffalo Challenge on the radio, and I decided it was time. Plus, they're having a severe shortage down here in Florida, so I decided to go ahead and give blood. It's very important, because I'm going to be at that game on Sunday, and we beat Buffalo any way we can.
The people in South Florida are good blood donors, and we accept your challenge, and we're going to win.
There's still time to beat Buffalo in this blood donating challenge. All you have to do is call your local Red Cross. That's all for now. We'll be back in 24 minutes.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. The opening ceremonies of the Freedom Fair kicked off the annual exhibition sponsored by SCLAD, which stands for Spinal Cord Living Assistant Development, an organization that guides people with disabilities to get jobs and other assistance. On Friday morning, local dignitaries and people with disabilities joined the organization in the kickoff reception at the Convention Center in Miami Beach. The three-day event aims to exhibit new technologies and equipment available to the handicapped that are designed to enable a more independent lifestyle.
What it tries to do is to inform people with disabilities and physically limited seniors of all the products, technology, and services that are in the community and in the market to help them be more independent, more productive.
It's just been an overall positive experience. My disability has given me encounters and experiences that I never would have experienced before injury, and I'm very grateful in ways. I'm very proud right now to be disabled. I've experienced a very full life.
The ultimate sacrifice on the human body, and I know what you folks have to go through that are in a wheelchair. So no matter how much I do, please ask me to do some more, and I'll be there for you.
The exhibit will include several workshops that discuss legislation regarding those with physical impairments. And in other news closer to home, West Miami is thinking of taking down the poles left behind by the Adelight Company. The city had struck a deal with the ad company that installed street light poles that were supposed to hold signs paid for by advertisers. The city made money and so did the company, but the deal went sour because both were counting on the display of the signs on Southwest 8th Street, something the Department of Transportation decided not to allow because 8th Street is a historical road. After much legal debate, the city is keeping the poles because the Adelight Company could not keep its end of the deal.
The poles are ours. The poles, we don't have any use for them. They're in wrong places, and we asked the administration to set up a budget, how much it would cost to remove about 10 or 15 poles and get rid of them and just be in a safer situation, because we don't want the liability that those poles create for the city.
The removal of the poles is expected to cost the city about $4,500. And who says you have to trek all the way down south to get fresh fruits and vegetables? This weekend, you can get that fresh produce and prepared foods directly from the farmers at the Coral Gables Farmers Market. The Farmers Market made its debut last year and was such a success, the city decided to continue the tradition and hold even a bigger one this year. You'll have the opportunity to buy from 30 farmers and also participate in free gardening workshops and children's programs. The city of Coral Gables and area merchants are doing this in celebration of the agriculture in South Dade and to attract more people to the downtown area. They also hope to help out those farmers who suffered great losses due to the hurricane.
South Dade agriculture is important to the South Florida community. We don't often think that, but the strawberries, the limes, the different products that come out of there, the vegetables, peppers, eggplants, onions, a variety of vegetables are grown in South Florida as a winter source of vegetables, and we want to celebrate that.
It creates a lot of camaraderie in the Gables as far as bringing people out for a casual event where they can meander through the market, they can select produce, cut flowers, baked goods, etc., and then hopefully come onto the mile and shop the many stores here.
The farmers market begins this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the corner of Biltmore Way and Lejeune Road, and it will run every Saturday through March 27th. That's all the news for this edition. We'll be back in 24 minutes with more local headlines. We hope to see you then.
Sedano Supermarkets carrying on.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. The Dade County Legislative Delegation has a new chairman, and he is State Representative Rudy Garcia. Thursday evening, Dr. Eduardo Padron, president of the Miami-Dade Community College Wilson campus, hosted a reception in his honor to celebrate Garcia's new position with community leaders. The state rep has been a member of the House for the past 8 years. As chairman, he will represent all of Dade's elected officials and the needs of our community.
Listening to everyone, listening to the community, and bringing everyone together to take up the best prominent package up to the Florida House and Senate this year, to come back with the needs that we really have in this community.
He has the necessary vision, the integrity, the sensitivity, and the understanding of the issues.
He's a young man with tremendous energy and a desire to serve that is unequal.
And a story published in the Miami Herald Friday says that an investigation of Rudy Garcia has cleared him of criminal wrongdoing in a long-running probe into his relationship with the Hialeah Health Maintenance Organization. Garcia had apparently lobbied on behalf of Century Health Medical Plan while receiving money from the company. The Dade prosecutor says, however, that there was insufficient evidence to prove Garcia had broken any laws. And Sweetwater is getting a new look for the new year. Residents have been suggesting possible improvements for the city, and as Jeanette Oropesa reports, during Thursday night's community development meeting, some final decisions were made.
Several Sweetwater residents and officials have put together renovation plans that will give the city a facelift. Among the improvements agreed upon during Thursday night's community development meeting were adding a pool to Ronzelli Park. In Carlo Park, the plan is to acquire more land so that a preschool, child care service, a library, and a social service center for the elderly could be constructed.
I feel the city needs more recreational land. They deserve a better building for the youth. Currently, like I said, we're having the Ronzelli building improved.
James Beasley Park is also getting a new look.
James Beasley Park has been designed so that we can put street lighting improvements in the park that would look something similar to New Orleans. And the benches, along with the lighting, would be something that would totally beautify that park.
I think we need this kind of, this plan, all these improvements, because our community needs it. It just needs to be revitalized.
This is all part of a multi-million-dollar project. Sweetwater is among various municipalities that Dade County is funding for renovating its neighborhoods.
Over a number of years, it would cost Dade County approximately $15 million.
And what about the residents? Would they have to pay anything at all?
No, it would not cost anything to the residents of Sweetwater.
Other renovations include the drainage system and streets like 109th Avenue, which will be enlarged so that residents can use it as an alternative to heavily congested 107th Avenue. After Dade County approves the renovation plans, residents can begin to see improvements by the end of this year. Reporting for Dynamic Headline News in Sweetwater, I'm Jeanette Oropesa.
And here is a brief summary of the stories that made headlines in our community this week. On Monday in Hialeah, the political arena is heating up with 11 months to go before elections. Officials say they believe this will be one of the most interesting elections ever in that city. And a Cuban organization makes an appeal to the community on behalf of Haitian refugees and their plight. On Tuesday, we reported the possibility of convicted drug conspirator Alberto San Pedro being extradited to Cuba as a result of his crimes. He and his lawyers are hoping, however, the situation won't come to that. On Wednesday in Hialeah, an ordinance against discrimination dies in the hands of the city council when members refused to even discuss the issue. A resolution against discrimination, however, was passed. And on Thursday, West Miami residents wait for an engineer to be selected to begin construction of the second phase of the city's sewer system. But instead, they get another setback. We'll be back in 24 minutes.
It's something that still needs to be done, and
reconoce como el mejor noticiero local en cualquier idioma en los Estados Unidos.
Les habla Sandra Peebles desde el Aeropuerto Internacional de Miami. Llega el primer grupo de estudiantes cubanos de Moscú.
Residente de Coral Gables ofrece a Martin Luther King un regalo de su propia inspiración. Tendremos más informaciones a continuación en su noticiero Miavision.
A continuación, Noticiero Miavision. Una presentación de Miavision y Dynamic Cablevision.
Muy buenas, bienvenidos a una edición más del Noticiero Miavision. El primero de 3 grupos de estudiantes cubanos que se encontraban varados en Moscú arribó al Aeropuerto Internacional de Miami el pasado sábado en la noche. Sandra Peebles estuvo presente y nos informa que los nuevos refugiados fueron recibidos por amigos y familiares en lo que resultó ser una emotiva recepción.
Natalia Goderich, estudiante de física radicada en Moscú por los últimos 5 años, fue sorprendida por la emotiva recepción que la esperó la noche del sábado en el Aeropuerto Internacional de Miami.
Me decían que nos iban a recibir, pero yo no esperaba que fuera así.
¿Se siente muy emocionada?
Sí, yo no sé qué otro sentimiento tengo porque me siento muy emocionada.
Natalia, como tantos otros de sus colegas, fueron enviados a la ex Unión Soviética por el gobierno castrista para obtener lo que ellos llaman una educación privilegiada. Pero cuando esta presenció la caída del comunismo, supo que nunca regresaría a su país mientras que este fuera comunista. La historia se repite para los más de 100 estudiantes cuyo arribo a Miami se espera en el transcurso de este mes. El programa Éxodo de la Fundación Nacional Cubano-Americana, encabezado por José García, estuvo haciendo trámites para conseguir el asilo político de estos estudiantes.
Rusia se dice fácil hoy en día, pero Rusia es un lugar muy difícil, a donde todavía Cuba maneja un gran respeto de muchos de los burócratas que todavía quedan ahí, burócratas comunistas. Y gracias a Dios, con estos muchachos y muchachas que entienden el sistema y que tienen el coraje necesario, pudimos lograr esto.
Jorge González llegó acompañado por su esposa de nacionalidad rusa y su hijo de 4 años. Este nos manifestó que él, como muchos estudiantes, se desilusionaron con la revolución castrista cuando Fidel Castro denunció la perestroika. González dice que cuando anunció su intención de buscar asilo político en Estados Unidos, fue perseguido por las autoridades cubanas y rusas.
Por mucha presión que pueden hacer los cubanos en Rusia, como quiera que sea, Rusia no es Cuba, ¿no? Y Rusia es un país muy grande, yo me negué. Ellos venían todos los días a buscarnos al albergue donde vivíamos nosotros, a exigirnos que entregáramos los pasaportes, que nos fuéramos para el aeropuerto. Pero bueno, hasta que un día yo me cogí y me escondí.
La Fundación Nacional Cubano-Americana espera que los miembros restantes de este grupo arriben al Aeropuerto Internacional de Miami en el transcurso de esta semana. Para el noticiero Miavision les informó Sandra Peebles.
Y un segundo grupo que esperaba arribar a Miami el domingo logró acompañar a los 18 primeros estudiantes en este vuelo hacia tierras de libertad. Y en otras informaciones.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Jeanette Oropesa. The first of 3 groups of Cuban students who've been awaiting their release from Moscow arrived Saturday night at Miami International Airport on board Delta Flight 81 at approximately 8:51 p.m. As Sandra Peebles reports, the students received a warm and highly emotional reception.
Natalia Goderich, a physics student who had been studying in Moscow for the past 5 years, was overwhelmed by the reception at Miami International Airport Saturday night.
Me decían que nos iban a recibir, pero yo no esperaba que fuera así.
Natalia says they had told her that there was going to be a reception, but she says she never expected anything like this. Natalia, like so many of her colleagues, was sent to the former Soviet Union by the Cuban government to get a privileged education. But when she witnessed the downfall of communism, she knew she'd never go back to her country. The story is the same for more than the 100 students who are expected to make their flight to freedom this month. The Exodus program of the Cuban-American National Foundation, headed by Jose Garcia, had been working on getting the release of the students for months.
You can say Russia easily today, but in 1988, when they took the bold moves that they did, when people like Jorge Ziegler said no, when people like Oscar Aguirre said no, it made the difference.
Jorge Gonzalez arrived with his Russian-born wife Irina and 4-year-old son. He says many of the students became disillusioned with Castro's revolution after he denounced perestroika. Gonzalez says when he announced his decision to seek asylum in the U.S., he was persecuted by both Cuban and Russian officials.
When I asked Russian government for giving me a permanent residence in Russia, they denied because they need the permission from the Cuban embassy. But when we want to go to the United States, because the United States give us political asylum, they don't want we to go. Yes, so it's a stupid situation, but that's the reality today in Russia.
The Cuban-American National Foundation is expecting the remainder of the students to arrive on different flights throughout this week. For Dynamic Headline News, I'm Sandra Peebles.
Turning now to the economy, President-elect Bill Clinton will be sworn into office on Wednesday, and many in our community wonder if he'll keep the promises he made during his...
Cediendo ante presiones para presentar un presupuesto balanceado, el gobernador Lawton Chiles está proponiendo un impuesto sobre las organizaciones no lucrativas. Russ Marchner, quien encabeza la asociación de dichas organizaciones, nos manifestó que el Estado provee los fondos para muchos de estos programas y por lo tanto cobrar un impuesto sobre sí mismo no tiene sentido.
$5 billion of the $7 billion that the state gives to HRS.
5 de los 7 billones de dólares que el Estado le suministra a HRS son utilizados a través de organizaciones no lucrativas, dice Marchner, y ahora lo que quieren es cobrar un impuesto sobre su propio dinero. Entre los afectados se encuentran programas escolares para después de clases como aquellos ofrecidos en la escuela primaria de Sweetwater por el YMCA. La directora de esta organización para nuestra área, Gloria Ramírez, explica que un impuesto puede tener consecuencias devastadoras sobre algunos individuos que realmente necesitan de estos servicios. ¿Y estos padres, algunos son de bajos recursos? ¿Cómo afectaría eso?
Afectaría el que siendo los papás, si no tienen lo suficiente dinero para pagar los servicios, tienen que optar por dejar los hijos solos en la casa o por dejar de comprar a otros servicios.
Hacemos diferentes actividades que los padres no tienen que estar preocupados si están aquí, si no están aquí, que dónde estarán mis hijos, con quién lo dejamos, con quién nos los están cuidando. Las personas que trabajan aquí son personas que están cualificadas para ese trabajo.
Marchner agrega que este tema fue presentado ante la legislatura estatal el verano pasado, pero no fue aprobado. La legislatura estatal considerará este tema el día 2 de febrero y si deciden aprobar el impuesto, puede que el Estado reciba más ingresos sacrificando programas comunitarios como este. Para el noticiero Miavision en Sweetwater les informó Sandra Peebles.
Veamos qué tenemos en el mundo de los deportes hoy, don Salvelio. Ha sido retado en las cortes por un grupo de activistas de nuestra comunidad. Esta mañana se celebraron los argumentos de apertura en una corte del condado. Sandra Peebles estuvo presente y nos brinda los detalles.
El impuesto sobre las ventas de medio centavo aprobado por los votantes del condado hace más de un año, cuyo propósito es beneficiar al Hospital Jackson Memorial, fue desafiado esta mañana en la Corte del Condado. Un grupo encabezado por el residente de Coral Gables, George Schulte, que se opone al incremento de impuestos, está presentando una demanda contra la Comisión del Condado, en la cual alega que este cuerpo legislativo engañó a los votantes, haciéndoles pensar que el impuesto de medio centavo sería pagado por un tiempo determinado. La fecha de expiración era octubre del 98.
The tax originally was supposed to expire October 1, 1998.
Según Friedman, por medio de una enmienda a una ley estatal, el gobierno del condado eliminó la fecha de expiración y así traicionó la confianza de los votantes, quienes creyeron que a partir del año 98 no tendrían que seguir pagando este impuesto. Un tiempo después de la aprobación de dicho impuesto, la legislatura estatal eliminó la fecha de expiración del mismo, lo que se traduce en que los compradores en Dade tendrán que pagar medio centavo más por tiempo indefinido. Pero según los abogados que representan al condado, la decisión tomada por la comisión y la acción posterior de la legislatura están de acuerdo con la ley. De acuerdo con Pinsky, la ley estatal que eliminó la fecha de expiración es constitucional. La juez ha ordenado a ambos contendores que entreguen por escrito sus argumentos concluyentes y ha fijado para el día 19 de febrero una audiencia pública para escuchar los argumentos finales. Sandra Peebles, Noticiero Miavision.
Y Y veamos qué tenemos en los deportes.
Miami is an issue we've been updating you on for quite a while, and this time there's good news for the residents of that city. The battle over Phase 1 is over, and the Commission has hit the ground running to begin Phase 2. Sandra Peebles has the latest details.
The sewer project situation is running as smoothly as ever in West Miami. During Wednesday night's meeting, officials reached an agreement on the 3-year lawsuit over Phase 1 sewer system. Attorney Michael Audie, who represents the city in this case, presented the commission with a $30,000 out-of-court settlement offered by Rocco Ferreira, the contractor accused of falling short of efficiently constructing Phase 1. After much consideration, the city accepted.
Thoughts of maybe going to a whole-blown new trial just to make $70,000. The odds are against us, really.
I think you all did a good job of controlling it. I think you sent a good message, and it's a good precedent for the future, and plus you learned a lot from it.
The commission closed the first chapter of this sewer saga and moved on to part 2 by considering 3 candidates for the engineering contract of the second phase of the sewer system. Hazen and Sawyer ranked number 1, followed by Cap Engineering and Lockwood. Commissioner Rebecca Sosa explains what happens now.
Right now, the city manager have to do the evaluations of those. He have to look into their qualifications, and then he has to come back to the commission table with a recommendation, and then the commissioners will do the final decision.
According to city officials, if all goes as planned, groundbreaking for the construction of the second phase of the sewer system may begin as early as mid-March. Sandra Peebles reporting in West Miami for Dynamic Headline News. No se vayan, que regresemos enseguida con su noticiero Miavision.
Mira, fase del sistema de alcantarillado ha llegado a un desenlace feliz. Y según nos informa Sandra Peebles a continuación, ahora ya están preparados para dar comienzo a la segunda fase de este proyecto.
La larga batalla sobre el sistema de alcantarillado de West Miami por fin está tomando una vuelta favorable. Durante la reunión de la comisión anoche, los oficiales llegaron a un acuerdo sobre una demanda en la cual han estado involucrados por más de 3 años. El abogado Michael Audie, quien representa a la ciudad en este asunto, le presentó a la comisión una oferta de $30,000 hecha por parte de Rocco Ferreira, excontratista de la primera fase de este proyecto. Con la misma, Audie espera resolver la disputa fuera de los tribunales. La comisión, después de mucha consideración, aceptó.
Ganamos más de $150,000 en este caso, y yo creo que es inteligente en estos momentos retirarnos, recoger el dinerito que hemos sacado en beneficio de la ciudad y esperar que estas cosas no se repitan.
Sin embargo, la comisión termina un capítulo para comenzar otro. Anoche también se consideraron 3 compañías de ingenieros, uno de los cuales tomará el cargo de la construcción de la segunda fase del sistema de alcantarillado. Hazen & Sawyer fue escogido en primer lugar, seguido por Cap Engineering y Lockwood. La comisionada Rebecca Sosa nos explicó el procedimiento a seguir.
Han dado numeración por orden de oportunidades. Bueno, el city manager tiene que evaluar las calificaciones de esos diferentes ingenieros y volver a la mesa de la comisión con su recomendación, donde al final la comisión será la que tome la decisión final.
Según los oficiales municipales, si todo va de acuerdo con los planes, la construcción para la segunda fase del sistema del alcantarillado puede comenzar tan pronto como a mediados de marzo. En West Miami, Sandra Peebles, Noticiero Miavision.
Así que se celebrará el día 2 del mes de febrero. Y al respecto está celebrando una serie de reuniones comunitarias con el fin de conocer los deseos y mayores preocupaciones de los residentes. Sandra Peebles estuvo presente y nos amplía la información.
Lo prometido es deuda y el senador estatal Alberto Gutman está cumpliendo con su promesa. Gutman había dicho durante su campaña electoral que celebraría reuniones comunitarias con el propósito de mantener a sus constituyentes al tanto de los temas que les afectan. El jueves el senador celebró la primera de una serie de reuniones en el ayuntamiento de West Miami.
Muchas veces los oficiales electos olvidan quién son los votantes y quién son los jefes. Yo considero cada votante mi jefe directo y por eso me gusta tener estas reuniones para hablar y comunicar con los votantes, las personas de mi distrito, y eso hasta que no votan, porque me necesitan. Yo quiero saber lo que ellos quieren para yo poder hacerlo en Tallahassee.
El representante Ernesto García también contestó preguntas dirigidas por residentes como Digna Rodríguez, cuya mayor preocupación es el cuidado médico.
hay un proyecto o algo nuevo sobre Medicare o algo parecido de ayuda a las personas mayores para el complemento del 20% del Medicare, y quería saber más o menos qué orientación él nos pudiera dar sobre eso.
El senador Gutman encabeza el Comité de Cuidado Médico del Senado Estatal y manifestó que este es un tema de gran importancia, no solo en la agenda estatal, sino también nacional.
La salud obviamente es uno de los temas más importantes y más calientes del año. El sistema de salud que tenemos tiene cosas buenas y tiene cosas malas.
El senador Gutman espera celebrar la próxima reunión en el ayuntamiento de Coral Gables el próximo miércoles a las 5:30. En West Miami, Sandra Peebles, Noticiero Miavision.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. 2 dead bodies were discovered by Hialeah police Friday afternoon in an apartment at 1871 West 62nd Street. Authorities are investigating the possibility of a murder-suicide. 31-year-old Juana Rosa Ordóñez received 3 bullet wounds to the head. 51-year-old Reni Elvera also had a shot in the head. Police found the bodies after neighbors called concerned about the victims' welfare. The investigation continues. Another highway-related death in Hialeah this weekend. At about 10 p.m. on Saturday night, a 1981 Toyota turned onto Okeechobee Road at West 27th Street and got directly in the path of a Continental traveling westbound. The Continental lost control and hit 2 other parked cars. A woman passenger in the Toyota was killed. The driver and a child passenger were critically injured and were taken to Jackson Memorial Hospital, where they are in critical condition. The driver of the Continental was treated for injuries and released on the scene. And in other news, on Sunday, hundreds of Hialeah residents lined 29th Street to honor Cuban leader Jose Marti. Students and local leaders marched down the city's renowned Jose Marti Boulevard that leads to a monument of the heroic Cuban poet. Judy Cordero was there this weekend and brings us this report.
The Cuban flag waved proudly to the crowd as Hialeah residents cheered on the bands and civic organizations at a parade in honor of Cuban patriot Jose Marti's birthday.
To bring a message to these children, to these Cuban-American children born in this country, that they should be proud of their Hispanic heritage.
This Sunday makes it 25 years that the Latin American Citizens Council has gathered thousands of students from various private and public schools to march down the Marti Boulevard to his monument.
Although we have many organizations actively working for the freedom of our country, it is essential that the individual gets involved. We can't leave such an important thing up to 4 or 5 organizations as dedicated as they are.
Some community leaders united to show their support to maintain Marti's hope, Cuba's freedom alive.
Keeping hopes alive of regaining freedom for Cuba, who is a country only 90 miles away that we love to see free again.
It demonstrates that one person and then a small group of people, in this case Euripides Riera and his friends, his closest friends, they can really accomplish a tremendous amount with perseverance and with hard work.
The one message that was stressed by many today is how proud all Hispanics should feel when they speak of the independence leader, Jose Marti. In Hialeah, Judy Cordero reporting.
And it was a weekend filled with festivities in Hialeah. On Friday, the Hialeah Racetrack opened its doors for the 10th annual Hialeah Spring Festival. The yearly event is sponsored by the Hialeah Chamber of Commerce and highlights many local music bands, amusement rides, and, of course, plenty of food from different countries. City officials say they invite residents from all over Dade County to come and enjoy the biggest street festival in that city.
I'm very pleased to be here at the Hialeah Racetrack. This is the Hialeah Spring Festival 10th anniversary. And today the Chamber of Commerce and all of us are here united with the community and bringing this beautiful event to the residents of Hialeah and Dade County.
I think the Hialeah Festival is a very fun and enjoyable place to come to. Everybody's having a great time. We have a stage over here with a lot of entertainment, and we like to see everybody come.
There's a very good place to bring your family, have fun. There's plenty of beer, plenty of rides to bring your kids over, and plenty of food in case you get hungry.
The Hialeah Spring Festival is open to everyone free of charge and will run through January 31st, and everyone is invited. That's all the news for this edition. We'll be back in 24 minutes with more local headlines. We'll see you then. is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Some residents in Hialeah are fighting to keep a funeral home from opening in their neighborhood. A group protested outside City Hall Monday afternoon to get their message across to city officials. The Hialeah Council plans to change the zoning of the property located at the corner of Hialeah Drive and Lejeune Road. The new zoning rule would allow a 24-hour funeral home. But residents who live just steps away from the property are up in arms about the whole thing. They say traffic congestion, among other things, will cause their property value to go down.
Children do not need to be facing this thing every single day. Every single day they come out of their house, there might be something coming in or people crying or screaming.
They have 50 parking lots, so the rest of the guys are going to be parking all over the houses here, blocking all the ways, and then it's going to be a whole nuisance for the neighborhood. It's going to be just a nuisance for the neighborhood.
I can't even back out of my driveway at 3:30 in the afternoon to go pick up my daughter in the Springs. I have to wait at least 5 minutes just to get out because the traffic is so heavy.
The city planner has already recommended that council members approve the rezoning. Angry residents will now have to wait for a decision on Tuesday night during the city's regular council meeting. And on the political scene, the city of Miami Springs will have an entirely new team making decisions once elections are over in April. Only 2 of the 5 members on the council are seeking re-election. Eric Elza and Joan Hutchings are running for their current seats. But Mayor Jack Dewhurst has announced he is calling it quits, at least for now. The mayor says he'd like to spend more time with his family. Councilmember James Grace also needs a break and won't seek a 4th term. As for Councilmember James Borgman, he can't run again because the city charter prohibits anyone from serving 8 consecutive years. Borgman has been on the Springs Council since 1984. Candidate filing for Springs election ends on February 22nd. Election day is April 6th. Florida ranks as a 3rd state with the highest number of cancer-related deaths in the nation. That number could be much higher if it wasn't for the efforts of the League Against Cancer. Since its foundation 18 years ago, the organization has helped save over 20,000 lives. But the League needs your help, and badly. So badly, in fact, that besides the annual marathon this year, the organization is holding a small fundraiser. The event, televised by WLTV Channel 23, also airs on the Spanish-language radio station WQBA. The mini-marathon began on Saturday and will run through Monday night. The League is trying to reduce its $1,800,000 deficit. So far, the League has collected more than $70,000, and although officials say they're very pleased with the community's response, they need more people who are committed to the cause.
That way we have every year an amount that we can count, and it's different. But with all these problems with people without a job and everything, and this illness, how I said, is unpredictable, the cost.
Every contribution anybody does is just the fact that that you're saving another life. You know what I'm saying? Just by any contribution anybody does, it's the fact even $5 or $10 that you're doing, you're saving hundreds of people's lives. Not even one, but hundreds of people's.
If you would like to make a donation to the League Against Cancer, please call 856-4914. And in other news, a cheerful reunion on Saturday for members of the first company of Cuban soldiers established in the U.S. Army at Fort Knox, Kentucky 30 years ago. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, many young men who came from Cuba volunteered to join the U.S. Armed Forces. Many were trained to go into Cuba and take out the missiles that were threatening the U.S. safety at the time. This is Dynamic Headline News.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Coral Gables residents concerned about the welfare of their community and preserving the beauty of their city may want to hear about the Coral Gables Foundation. Restoration of buildings and other historical landmarks is one of the priorities of the organization, but it also encourages cultural and educational projects that improve the quality of life in the City Beautiful. Tuesday morning, the 19-member board made its first financial request to the City Commission. Group officials say they're ready to begin their first project, but they'll need the support of both the community and the administration.
We would like to provide a transportation system of vans to take elderly citizens in the area of Coral Gables to do their shopping, groceries, go to the doctor, etc., so that we can increase their mobility.
Commission more or less mandated approval that the matching funds concept is certainly feasibility, in-kind services and feasibility. I think the city will be financially responsible and helpful to this organization.
All donations made to the Coral Gables Foundation are tax deductible. And last week, the city of Coral Gables appealed a judge's order to stop construction at Doctors Hospital. The court declared that the ordinance that allowed the expansion project was unconstitutional because the public was given insufficient notice of the hearing. The judge gave the city the option of holding another public hearing and re-adopting the law. And officials have decided to follow through. The city attorney said Tuesday the public hearing will be advertised within the next few weeks. And turning to health news, many who use home health care may soon find themselves without the extra medical attention. State officials are seeking to ban home health care agencies from caring for patients who use Medicaid or Medicare to pay for services. As Judy Cordero reports, many patients will be affected because the larger organizations don't have the staff to provide the specialized care needed for patients in our community.
Home health care companies are on the verge of disappearing. State officials are proposing to prohibit these companies, which tend to patients who in the majority are elderly at home, by not allowing them to obtain a license that would allow to bill directly to Medicare or Medicaid. But according to Frank Turan of a home health care agency, not only are patients going to suffer, but over 9,000 Dade County employees are going to lose their jobs.
And eventually everybody is going to be hurting, from patient-wise to employee-wise to business entrepreneur. We all be out of business and out of money.
Members of various healthcare companies gathered Monday night to discuss this issue. Medicare-certified home health care agencies like Mederi and HHSI hire them as extra help. However, these small companies are required to follow the same regulations as the major organizations. Senator Al Gutman backs them and has prepared a bill that would eliminate the required certified agency.
It will allow all the agencies that are here in this group to bill Medicare directly. It will probably save about 30 to 40% to the taxpayer through Medicare, lower Medicare payments.
Over 40 members have now signed up to join a new organization formed tonight called the United Home Healthcare Association that will represent them just like any corporation. Some of the members of the various companies will travel to Tallahassee in February to make the senators and representatives understand their services needed. If state officials don't approve the law, these companies will disappear. And according to them, the patients are the ones who are going to suffer the most. For Dynamic Headline News, I'm Judy Cordero.
That's all for this edition. We hope to see you in 24 minutes when we come back with more local headlines. This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. County Mayor Steve Clark is saying goodbye to 20 years of county politics. Clark says he is calling it quits after a federal judge ruled the county's election system illegal and eliminated the mayoral position. Clark won't be running for one of the new commission seats created by the judge's order, although the new plan is attracting quite a diverse group of hopeful candidates. Qualifying for the Metro Commission ends on Tuesday. We'll have an updated list of the candidates for the districts in our area on Wednesday's edition of Dynamic Headline News. And turning to more local news, the city of Miami Springs is working towards making its sidewalks safer for its residents. The Springs will continue with its renovation project to fix any sidewalks that are damaged and pose a hazard to people who live there. As Yusila Ramirez reports, the Department of Public Works will undertake the reparations not only for beautification, but for safety reasons as well.
Miami Springs can look forward to new sidewalks in their community this year. Monday night during the council meeting, the city announced they will continue their project that will replace all damaged sidewalks that are dangerous to pedestrians.
The homeowner benefits in two ways. It relieves him of liability if there is indeed a lifted place of sidewalk that's a trip hazard to his neighbors. The other benefit is, you know, the city does all the bidding, the city gets the job done.
The Public Works Department has recently completed Westward Drive. The immediate focus is repairing the sidewalks damaged by Hurricane Andrew. Federal money has been allocated to cover this phase. The project was started 12 months ago with a budget of $300,000. 1/3 of that budget went to purchase equipment and hire personnel. The Public Works Department will also determine what residents will need their sidewalks replaced.
If the sidewalk is damaged by a city tree, a tree in the right-of-way, or it's damaged by action of the city, a crew breaking a sidewalk to replace a meter box or something like that, the city picks up the price of that sidewalk. If it's damaged for any other reason, it's the responsibility of the abutting property owners to replace that sidewalk.
The sidewalk project will continue until all the streets that need reparation have been completed and no longer pose a hazard to the citizens. In Miami Springs, Yusila Ramirez reporting for Dynamic Headline News.
And the Hispanic community in Dade County will soon have more access to information on the environmental problems we face today. On Tuesday, the South Florida Water Management District launched the first water resource awareness campaign aimed at Hispanics. The goal of the pilot program, titled Es Tu Medio Ambiente, or It's Your Environment, is to make Dade's Hispanic community more familiar with water and environmental issues. Community leaders and committee members met Tuesday morning to kick off the campaign with the first meeting of its advisory board. They believe the time to act is now, before we see a major environmental crisis. For years, organizers have been pushing to launch this project.
We're making every effort to make sure that the Hispanic community is informed as to the responsibilities we each have as citizens to preserve and conserve the environment, primarily water resources.
It's important that we protect not only the quantity but also the quality of the water. There are a lot of threats that are taking place in our community related to water pollution or lack of water quantity. And I think it's important that this awareness and this sensitivity could be translated into the protection of those resources that are so important to our quality of life.
The Advisory Council will continue to meet on a quarterly basis. The next step is to actually tour urban Dade County, including the Everglades, Biscayne Bay, and the Miami River by helicopter. That's all for now. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Dynamic Headline News, your best source for local community news. This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. The battle between the Galloping Lobster restaurant and the residents of Fontainebleau Park area was put to a halt on Tuesday when the county's Zoning Appeals Board denied the restaurant a permanent dance floor permit. As Yusila Ramirez reports, the residents were glad the decision was made, but are concerned that the restaurant owners will appeal the decision.
The residents of the Fontainebleau community got their way on Wednesday when the County Zoning Appeals Board denied the well-known restaurant, the Galloping Lobster, a permit to have a dance floor on its premises. Residents of the area were concerned that this dance floor would turn the restaurant into a night spot that may attract what they call bad elements.
Is going to completely dramatically change our lifestyle. It's going to decrease our property values. It's going to endanger the way of life that we have with our children. People coming out of restaurants and nightclubs at all times of the night, blowing their horns, making noise outside.
Although the restaurant has a temporary permit for the dance floor now, owners will reappeal to try to make it permanent. The Galloping Lobster has been open for the past 16 months, and owners say that the 20 by 20 foot dance floor wouldn't change their clientele.
We're going to have music and we're going to have food that already is done. We sell alcoholic beverage with a permit that is already done also. So all that we are doing is trying to expand a number of hours, for people who at night they want to go out.
The restaurant is located approximately 10 feet from the first home, and residents like Teresita Prado are afraid this would not only disturb the neighborhood, but Fontainebleau will no longer be the community she first moved into.
This will devaluate our properties, and the original conditions for a lot of people, which is why they bought in the Fontainebleau area, was because they wanted this type of tranquil environment to have as a home, to make their homes.
Although the Galloping Lobster can reappeal the new decision, the residents say they can rest assured knowing that their community will not be affected by any undesirable elements the nightclub might bring. For Dynamic Headline News, Yusila Ramirez.
A bone marrow donor from Hialeah City Hall may have been matched with a patient who needs a transplant. In November, the city sponsored a bone marrow drive to help two young brothers who suffer from Wiskott-Aldrich disease, an illness that debilitates the immune system. Maria del Carmen Pineda was one of the donors, and last week the Red Cross called her and told her she may be compatible with a patient, although it won't be one of the brothers. She says she is very happy at the prospect of helping save someone's life, although she must still undergo another test before it is determined if she will be a donor or not.
Well, I feel great. I believe it's a very good feeling that you can help someone who really needs it. And I would like to finish the whole thing to the end.
There will be another bone marrow blood drive on Sunday at St. Thomas Church at 7310 Southwest 62nd Street, and Red Cross officials are hoping to attract Hispanic donors who are willing to sign up to the bone marrow registry. And the City of Hialeah Parks and Recreations Department is offering an early intervention and prevention program designed for youths considered to be at risk of getting in trouble. The program will be offered in 13 different parks in the city and is open to kids between the ages of 11 and 17 free of charge. The program will be offered twice a week, and to sign up, kids need to go with a parent to the recreation office and fill out an application.
What kind of programs are you going to be offering?
We're offering, we have a lot of videotapes that we teach the children. We also put them to work at one of our recreation centers under the center directors, and this way it teaches them some kind of responsibility and sees how the Parks and Recreation works, and hopefully get them away from trouble into something constructive like athletic or something to do at the park.
For more information on this program, you can call 687-2670. That's all for this edition of Dynamic Headline News. We'll see you when we come back in just 24 minutes.
Miami Honda kicks.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Qualifying for candidates who want to run for Metro-Dade Commission elections ended on Tuesday night, and here are the names of the hopefuls in our area who will appear on the March 16th ballot. In District Number 6, which covers several cities in Central Dade, including Coral Gables, West Miami, Hialeah, Miami Springs, and parts of unincorporated Dade, incumbent Mary Collins faces 5 challengers, all Hispanics, and they include former State Representative Humberto Cortina, West Miami Mayor Pedro Reboredo, George Che Millet, Angel Urquiola, and Liliana Ross, who, by the way, has no relation to the Congresswoman. In District Number 7, which encompasses a large part of Southeast Dade, including parts of Coral Gables, we have 13 candidates battling it out, and they include former Miami Mayor Maurice Ferre, former Miami Commissioner Joe Carollo, Leonardo Villota, Rod Jude, Ramiro Marrero, G. Augusto Carillo, Carlos Rodriguez Quesada, Doran Mason, Mabel Cruz, Ricardo Nunez Portuondo, Vincent Passariello, Murray Klein, and Stuart Sorg. And continuing with District 12, which spans the area of Northwest Dade, including parts of Hialeah, Sweetwater, Medley, Hialeah Gardens, Virginia Gardens, and the Fontainebleau Park area, incumbent Alex Pinellas is seen as the front-runner in this race. He is being challenged by Severino Kennedy. And District 13, which includes most of Hialeah and some smaller communities in Northwest Dade, will elect one of 5 candidates. Making a bid are Councilwoman from Hialeah, Natacha Millan, David Black, Robert Ruiz, Rose DeMerle, and W.W. Brown. And now that the candidates have qualified for the Metro Commission, the race is on to choose the best person for the job in each district. The old 8 commissioners and 1 mayor format has been replaced by 13-member districts. Commissioner Alex Pinellas addressed members of the Northwest Dade Chamber of Commerce Wednesday morning. As Jeanette Oropesa reports, Pinellas spoke of the effects the new districting may have on our communities.
Dade County Commissioner Alex Pinellas spoke to members of the Hialeah Miami Springs Northwest Dade Chamber of Commerce Wednesday morning about the advantages and disadvantages of single-member districting. On one hand, he believes it will bring the government closer to the people, reduce the cost of campaigning, and diminish the interest of lobbyists. On the other hand, he says we could end up with a commission that's very local in nature, which may not focus on county-wide issues.
Clearly there's advantages and disadvantages. I think our real challenge right now as voters is to make sure that we elect those people who can both balance their district concerns and at the same time maintain a general or county-wide perspective.
Pinellas adds that voters should be aware of the new district they live in since it doesn't appear on their voter registration card. That way residents can make an educated decision on who the best candidate will be for their district.
Hopefully our people, our representatives, our commissioners will be able to overcome what I think is a possible deficiency of the organizational structure that we have set up. Nevertheless, I think it's an improvement, and in the long run, if things worked out the way they should, we would have a better representation.
I personally believe it's adding too many layers of government to the county. It was already difficult enough with 9, and now to have 13, and to have 13 that are responsible for a specific area, I think it's going to create more problems to try to get things accomplished at the county.
Despite the uncertainty voters may still have, the election will go on as scheduled on March 16th. In Hialeah, Jeanette Oropesa, Dynamic Headline News.
That's all for this edition, but we'll be back in 24 minutes with more local headlines. We'll see you then.
Sedano Supermarkets, your friendly neighbor for over 30 years.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. For some, learning English is difficult, but the Adult Education Center at Coral Gables High School is offering a program that promises to make the task a little easier. The classes range from beginner to refresher courses, and as Judy Cordero reports, the school has a wide variety of programs available to the community.
Learning the English language is not as easy as some may think. Angelica Willard came from Chile 1 year ago, and although she speaks the language, she finds it difficult to fully communicate. When we spoke to her, she expressed how important it is to be able to speak the language of where you live, no matter where it is.
If you go another city in this country, in Pennsylvania, in Easton, and nobody talking Spanish. It's necessary for it only, it's necessary you talk in English.
The classroom you saw her sitting in is at the Coral Gables Senior High Adult Educational Center, where she, along with other classmates, are anxiously trying to master this unnative tongue. Felicia Rayfield, one of the teachers, tells us no one should be afraid to take that first step.
They're not rushed through anything, and we have a lot of fun. And each class member really enjoys. We have music, we have movies, we use a lot of different things to teach English.
According to Michael Lohman, program coordinator of the school, these courses are not the only ones available to the community.
We offer a variety of different software applications and computers, real estate, business education courses in typing and shorthand, even import-export marketing.
These programs are available to all in the community, and they form part of the Dade County educational system. According to the teachers, the knowledge you'll obtain in these courses can be the extra know-how you need to advance in the future. From Coral Gables for Dynamic Headline News, I'm Judy Cordero.
For more information, you can call Coral Gables High School at 443-4871. There will be personnel available to answer your questions after 3 p.m. And Hialeah residents who protested the construction of a funeral home close to a residential area got their way Tuesday night. During the regular council meeting, officials denied an ordinance that would have allowed a funeral home on Lejeune Road and Hialeah Drive. The council couldn't ignore the protesting residents who were upset about the consequences a funeral home might bring. One resident expressed anger at having to live with a constant morbid reminder at her doorstep.
We all should know that the children should learn the fact of death. Yes, it's a reality. But what is there that lies in their future? None of us know. We should give them the present as happy as we can.
I don't object to any business in the city of Hialeah. But when you have a group of about 150 residents that are opposing a funeral home, you definitely have to listen to. And tonight, the city council voted to deny the petition.
The city attorney told the angry residents that although the property was not zoned for a funeral home, it is zoned for a packaged liquor store or a massage parlor, among other things. Residents there say they'll fight any proposed building that they think will threaten the quality of life in their neighborhood. And the memory of fallen Police Sergeant Pete Caíñas is alive in the hearts of his family and friends and comrades. During the Hialeah Council meeting Tuesday night, Caíñas' family was presented with a Medal of Valor in recognition of the officers' courage in protecting the Hialeah community. According to Chief Perry Turner, who presented the medal, on behalf of the Dade County Association of Chiefs of Police, Caíñas deserves the honor because he paid the ultimate price for the protection of his community. That's all for now, but we'll be back in 24 minutes.
Sedano Super.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Dade County is experiencing an overwhelming growth in population that has many homeowners scrambling to put a stop to it. On Wednesday night, residents of Northwest Dade met to discuss concerns and possible solutions to this escalating problem. Jusila Ramirez has the details.
Too much traffic, too many people. These were the concerns of Northwest Dade homeowners who met Thursday night at Palm Springs North Elementary to discuss what they can do about the overpopulation problem that is increasing in their residential areas. Pedro Delgado is worried his property value will decrease if the number of apartment complexes continue to grow in his neighborhood.
The overdeveloping and the density will likely affect the values of the homes. Not only that, the area we're located has only two accesses since it's surrounded by natural boundaries. This will create a big problem as far as traffic.
Dade County has grown 4 times its original size from 30 years ago to a county with more than 2 million people in its population. Residents feel the pinch of not having enough policemen, firemen, mailmen, and teachers. Homeowners are concerned that these developments will replace the single-family home.
One of the main purposes of this meeting has been to really rally the several groups of homeowners that have been formally organized in this area for many years in trying to get better organized, raise funds for a common basis to fight these proposed changes.
Carl Dasher, chairman of the North Dade Homeowners, wants to get other similar groups to band together to present a unified front against overdevelopment. Dasher hopes to circulate newsletters to reach other associations and homeowners to establish a network. Yusila Ramirez reporting for Dynamic Headline News.
On Thursday, the Ecclesiastical Commission of Hialeah met with Mayor Julio Martinez to exchange ideas on the problems that affect the religious communities and the communities at large in that city. The commission is made up of Christian leaders in Hialeah who hope to become the link between government and religious followers.
A group of pastors from different religions gather with me at least once a month and tell me what's going on within their parish, and I tell them what the problem is within the city. We interchange ideas, and
we meet once a month to discuss activities related to family support. We also discuss political situations, and especially when we have religious problems in our community.
New members of the Ecclesiastical Commission were installed during Thursday morning's meeting. And also on Thursday morning, hundreds gathered at Jose Marti Park in Little Havana to honor the birthday of the Cuban poet and hero. Different schools and community organizations participated in a parade to celebrate the 140th year of Jose Marti's birth. Organizers hope to unite the Cuban community under the ideals of freedom that Jose Marti embodies.
Jose Marti is a Cuban Abraham Lincoln, and we are actually following his example of freedom and liberty, and it's the idea to unite our country, the Cubans, all together under one flag.
It doesn't matter that we are here or in any other place or in any other country, we have to maintain the unity of all Cubans.
The parade ended at the bust of Jose Marti, where Cuban community leaders offered speeches in honor of the Cuban poet and liberator. That's all for this edition. Thank you for joining us on Dynamic Headline News, your best source for local community news.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. President Bill Clinton has proposed a reduction in the cost of living increases for Social Security recipients. The cut could save the U.S. government nearly $10 billion a year, but for those senior citizens who depend on their Social Security checks as their sole source of income, the proposed limit could be devastating. We spoke to several seniors in our community who say Clinton's proposal could put their livelihoods on the line.
Getting that much, and that's what we're living on. That's terrible. Just making our best, that's it. But it's not enough.
It'll be a tragedy. It's going to be very bad. I don't think how the people they can live. Even now, with what they get now, is so little that they can. It's very hard for them to live in a decent way. I mean, when I say decent, they can pay the rent, they have to eat, they have to buy. I mean, I don't think that's going possible.
2 Democratic senators have already lashed out against the president's proposal, and if it passes, it's expected that Clinton will get a strong opposition from Congress. And turning to more local news, the trash we throw into the wastebasket each day in Dade County adds up to about 3 million tons of solid waste each year. But employees at Sweetwater City Hall are committed to playing their part in conserving the environment by cutting down on the amount of trash they throw in the bin. As Jeanette Oropesa reports, on Friday, the city kicked off a recycling program at City Hall.
Until now, Sweetwater employees haven't had a recycling program in the workplace. But Friday morning, Gina Romeo, the Special Projects Manager for Community Recycling, spoke to a group of representatives from each department at City Hall. He advised them of ways to reduce waste before it's actually recycled.
By circulating one memo instead of giving a memo to each member of the department, using half sheets, double-sided copying, that will help stop generating the paper to start with. And then once it's used, it can be reused for scratch paper.
This particular recycling program for the office includes recycling food and beverage containers as well as high-grade office paper. Employees of the finance department think the program has been long overdue.
I think that's a very good idea because we were wasting a lot of paper for the computer, and now we can save it around maybe 2 or 3 pounds of paper daily.
After the meeting, the designated recycling officers went back to their respective departments to teach their co-workers how to better manage the increasing cost of waste disposal in the building.
Sweetwater City Hall hopes to become a model for other businesses throughout our community to begin their recycling program in the workplace. For Dynamic Headline News, Jeanette Oropesa reporting.
And a new building dedicated to the memory of fallen firefighters was inaugurated Friday morning. The Firefighters Memorial Building, located west of the Miami International Airport, will house offices for the Firemen's Council and will have a meeting and banquet hall. Officials say they're also planning to open a museum with memorabilia and relics. A memorial plaque bearing the names of firefighters who died while serving the community was unveiled during the ceremony.
This building was made by the effort of the firefighter. I mean, they didn't ask for the money; they contributed to the building, and they show to the community how, when people working together, they can obtain an objective.
The building is going to serve as a monument to all those who have dedicated their lives to the service of others, and it's important to recognize not only those who have lost their lives, but all of those who on a daily basis risk their life to protect the fellow citizens in this community.
The building was designed with an Art Deco style by Bernardo Forbrescia of Arquitectonica and features fire station motifs. The building is painted in bright yellow and orange colors that allude to flames. That's all the news for now. We leave you with CNN Headline News. This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Misión Martí is a project of the Cuban-American National Foundation that is planning the reconstruction of Cuban society when the communist regime collapses. On Thursday night, members gathered at the El Cid restaurant to commemorate the 140th anniversary of José Martí's birth. As Yusila Ramirez reports, many who attended the dinner freely commemorated for the first time the man who fought for the civil rights of the Cuban people.
Although he never met the unforgettable Cuban poet and apostle José Martí, 28-year-old ex-political prisoner Roberto Calveiro has one thing in common with the hero. Although 100 years apart, both men served prison sentences for their desire of freedom. On Thursday night, Calveiro and other Cubans from the organization Mission Martí celebrated the 140th anniversary of the liberator's birthday with a dinner at El Cid restaurant. Calveiro expressed that being among so many Cubans is very moving. He had always dreamt of being able to celebrate independence this way. It's like a dream come true for him, although he wishes all of Cuba could join in this commemoration. But Calveiro wasn't the only one grateful to have a chance to openly express his admiration for Martí. More than a month ago, Cuban pilot Carlos Cancio courageously deviated his plane from Varadero, Cuba, and landed at the Miami International Airport. His presence at the dinner symbolized the message of unity that Mission Martí wants for all Cubans. Cancio said there aren't words to describe how he feels at this moment. Martí has always been an example for all generations. Although in Cuba his message has been twisted, the Cuban community has been able to read between the lines.
Mission Martí began a year and a half ago, and to date it has over 1,000 members all over the United States. Over half of them reside here in Miami, Florida, preparing for Cuba's reconstruction.
In all
of these people working together in different projects. We have doctors, dentists, lawyers, accountants, business people who have a great interest in going to Cuba after the fall of the Castro regime and helping out.
Mission Martí made it possible for this group of Cubans to unite and remember the wise and inspirational words of the men who fought for the freedom of Cubans over 100 years ago. For Dynamic Headline News, Yusila Ramirez reporting.
And as we do every Friday, here is a brief recap of the stories that made headlines this week on Dynamic Headline News. On Monday in Hialeah, a protest by residents who oppose rezoning of a property that may give way to the building of a funeral home on Lejeune Road and Hialeah Drive. Neighbors are worried about the impact on their property value. And the League Against Cancer, the organization that has helped save thousands of lives, has a mini marathon to raise money to get it out of its deficit. Tuesday, in Metro News, Mayor Steve Clark is calling it quits after 20 years of county politics. Clark says he won't seek a commission seat in the newly created 13 single-member districts. The South Florida Water Management District launches a new campaign aimed at making Hispanics more aware of environmental issues. Es Tu Medio Ambiente, or It's Your Environment, hopes to keep the Hispanic community better informed on this universal problem. On Wednesday, qualifying for Metro Commission elections ends and 91 names will appear on the ballot on March 16th. In another story, Metro Commissioner Alex Pinellas speaks to members of the Northwest Dade Chamber of Commerce about single-member districts and what effect these may have on our communities. On Thursday in Hialeah, homeowners who oppose the construction of a funeral home near a residential area win their petition when the city council denies an ordinance that would have allowed it. And fallen officer Pete Caíñas is honored with a Medal of Valor presented to his family on behalf of the chiefs of police. The Cuban community celebrates the birth of hero Jose Marti with a parade in Little Havana. January 28th marks the 140th anniversary of the birth of the Cuban leader. That's all for this edition. Thank you for joining us on Dynamic Headline News, and have a great weekend.
Visit
$1,000. The Based Corporation is taking the lead on AIDS testing for babies. Coulter Corporation has come up with a test that may detect the virus very early on in the newborns. The test is more accurate, faster, and relatively inexpensive compared to conventional testing of infants. Mothers infected with AIDS may soon be able to find out with more certainty if their babies have the virus or not. Through a simple modification of an AIDS test, the Coulter Corporation of Hialeah has developed an easier, faster, and more precise method for detecting the virus in babies. Dave Hoffines is one of the scientists involved in this project. He explains how it works.
In babies, it destroys the antibody that the mother passes from the mother's system to the baby. It destroys that antibody and allows the antigen or the virus, the HIV virus, to be detected in the newborn. And with that detection, you know that the newborn has been exposed to the virus or has been given the virus from the mother.
An article in the New England Journal of Medicine recently reported that actual testing of newborns is accurate only 25% of the time, while this new test, the report points out, accurately diagnosed 81% of infected babies. The new technique could save infants born to infected mothers from using unnecessary powerful drugs, while giving those who have the virus a greater chance to live longer.
And some of the therapies have a somewhat toxicity for the baby. So if there's a baby who doesn't have the AIDS virus, they can be spared the testing, which has the potential harmful effects to the baby. And of course, there's also the peace of mind that the parents and doctors will have with knowing that this baby does not have the virus.
The test will be available in approximately 2 years. We'll be back in just 24 minutes. We'll see you then.
Nobody likes tax time.
That occurred Thursday night outside the victim's home on West 74th Street. The two were apparently arguing over money.
Baez knows his victim. He was a friend. As a matter of fact, we're under the impression that they came over from Cuba in the same raft a few years ago. So obviously they were very well-known friends. He has a very violent temper, and apparently they had an argument over money. There was a sum of $200 that Baez was trying to give to the victim. The victim refused to take the money, at which time Baez pulled out a gun and shot him several times. So we believe him to be armed, and he is very extremely dangerous.
Sergio Baez is a white Latin male about 5'3" to 5'5" tall and between 130 and 140 pounds. He has long black hair greased back into a ponytail and has green eyes. Anyone with information is asked to call the Hialeah Police Department at 687-2525 or contact Crime Stoppers. And in an effort to deter criminals like Baez at an early stage, the Hialeah Parks and Recreation Department is doing something for kids who may be prone to getting in trouble. As Judy Cordero reports, this weekend, the city kicked off an early intervention and prevention program.
The Department of Parks and Recreation in the city of Hialeah has a new program called Early Prevention and Intervention designed for the youth at risk in the community. 14-year-old Ramon Penton says this program has turned his life around.
I could, have fun, but do things certain ways, like going straight, like about school and what I do outside and what are my decisions.
We're trying to give them as much information, as much of an education as we can on drugs, gangs, alcoholism, peer pressure, and low self-esteem, just to set it up to where if and when they do need the information, something sticks.
Robbie Walker, a park director, says there are some early warning signs parents should look out for.
Change of haircut, change of attitude and behavior, clothing, similar clothing. If their friends are wearing the same type clothing, whether it be sports team, whether it be same particular colors, those are telltale signs.
Edwin Morris doesn't have to be in the program. He's there because he wants to learn about the dangers that lie ahead in the future.
Many times what they are in need is of someone giving them information about what resources are available in the community or outside of their homes.
The program is free and anyone interested can obtain more information at any Hialeah park. Program coordinators say together we can make a difference in our youth. For Dynamic Headline News from Hialeah, I'm Judy Cordero.
And welcome news during these hard economic times. The City of Hialeah's HAYS program has dozens of jobs just waiting to be filled. Hialeah's Adult Youth Employment Services is recruiting youths and adults who need full-time permanent jobs and is also offering classroom training free of charge in areas such as air conditioning and refrigeration, diesel mechanics, welding, landscaping, architectural drafting, land surveying, and auto body work. But according to employment counselors, the biggest problem they're having now is filling the positions.
Right now, I think due to the fact that there's a lot of temporary positions because of the hurricane, that people are working on temporary jobs, and we haven't really seen as many people come by the office, especially men, for these type of openings. And we see that might change once these temporary positions that they're working on due to the hurricane end. But right now, we do have a shortage of especially men.
To find out if you are eligible for participation, call the HAYS office at 883-6925. You need not be a Hialeah resident to qualify. That's all for this edition of Dynamic Headline News. We'll see you in 24 minutes when we come back with more local headlines.
Dynamic Headline News is brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Hialeah police discovered the body of a dead man Tuesday night. 75-year-old Pedro Agüero is presumed to have been killed in his own living room. Police found the body in the victim's home at 570 West 29th Street. An anonymous caller who tipped officials said that two armed men leaving the apartment had blood stains on their clothes. A friend of the victim says that he is shocked by the news.
Upon officers arriving, they located the victim, who apparently had been murdered. The victim is a white male, Pedro Agüero, 75 years old. At this time, we don't know the method of death, and we're urging anyone that might have some information on this crime to please contact the Hialeah Police Department.
Authorities are still investigating the case and would like to know who made the anonymous call. Anyone with information regarding this homicide is urged to call Hialeah Police Department at 687-2525 or contact Crime Stoppers at 471-TIPS. And in other news, Medley's Police Department is offering a token of comradeship to fellow law enforcement officers. Wednesday morning, Mayor Toby Wilson signed over 2 patrol cars to the Homestead Police Department. The cars had been used by Medley officers for the past 5 years. Mayor Wilson says the donation is another stone in South Dade's road to recovery.
During the hurricane, Homestead had a lot of problems. They lost a lot of cars, of police cars, and we felt that since we could not provide manpower that we would donate 2 police cars.
Really, our heart was with them during the hurricane, and we wanted to be there. And a lot of us were willing to go, and we did go on our own time. A lot of officers here went on their own time. And
it means that we can put officers out on the road. 90% of our fleet was damaged during the storm, and these vehicles will greatly help us in patrolling the streets of Homestead, and we really appreciate it.
Homestead officers say the department's 50-car fleet was nearly wiped out. With Medley's donation, Homestead's police department has about 35 patrol cars. And turning to art news, imagine creating beautiful works of art. Now imagine doing it without using your hands. As Jeanette Oropesa reports, a Nicaraguan artist with a physical disability is painting his way to fame.
He writes, draws, and paints with his mouth. 26-year-old Manuel Rivera Ortega is a well-renowned Nicaraguan artist who since birth has never been able to use his hands or feet. The artist arrived to Miami from his country less than a month ago and has already received from new friends much support to help make his dream come true. Ortega wants to make a name for himself here.
Cada cuadro que yo hago me quita
A part of my life goes into each one of my creations, Ortega says. Since I work so closely to the white canvas or paper, my vision is beginning to deteriorate. But nevertheless, I hope to find support from the community and the state so that I can continue being useful to society. His artwork varies from oil paintings and ink sketches of typical landscapes to different abstract watercolored paintings. Ortega plans on displaying his artwork at Sweetwater City Hall in a couple of months when the renovations there have been completed. For Dynamic Headline News, Jeanette Oropesa reporting.
That's all for this edition. We hope you join us in just 24 minutes when we come back with more local headlines. We'll see you then. This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. When Dade voters take to the polls on March 16th, they'll have to decide on more than just a commissioner who'll represent them. 2 ballot questions on the zoning and parks will also appear on next month's election ballot. Voters will be asked to decide if Metro's current zoning system, which is controlled by county commissioners, should be done away with. In its place, 8 zoning boards made up of elected members. The second question asks whether or not voters should have the veto power over big commercial projects in county parks. That's to say, any proposed project would have to go before voters before it's approved. Metro Dade officials have scheduled a forum to discuss the charter change ballot questions. It will be on Wednesday at the Metro Dade Center at 2 p.m., and that's at 111 Northwest 1st Street. Love is in the air as Valentine's Day approaches, and Cupid's arrow is looking to strike those unsuspecting hearts. As Jusila Ramirez found out, and many in our community are looking forward to this day of love.
Mr. and Mrs. Herrera, like most of us, lead very busy lives. But on Valentine's Day, they will take time out to spend it with each other. This will be a very special day because it's the first Valentine's they will celebrate as husband and wife.
Not only the couples, but friends also should be together. But this one particularly, we're going to spend it together, just the 2 of us.
Although Valentine's Day has a different meaning for everyone, one thing is agreed on, that this day of love should be for sharing.
Es como el compartir, el volver a revivir, o sea...
For Agap Tarisnian, Valentine's Day is a revival of something that is always in us. We should take time out to show our loved ones how we feel with something special, to separate it from the other days of the year. For the young and old, Valentine's Day has traditionally been a time for love and friendships. But even if you don't have a sweetheart, friends are always great company.
Valentine's Day is a very fun day because I get to go out with my boyfriend and friends. I know I like getting presents like candy, flowers.
For hundreds of years, February 14th has been devoted for the loved ones in our lives. And even today, nothing has changed. For Dynamic Headline News, Jusila Ramirez reporting.
The tradition of Valentine's Day has been handed down for centuries and continues throughout the world. In Hialeah, the elderly community is taking the Valentine tradition to heart. Jeanette Oropesa attended a Valentine's dance for the seniors. As she reports, the old romantics are still having a ball.
Carmen and Enrique Rivero have been married for 59 years. For them, this Valentine's dance, sponsored by the Hialeah Housing Authority, is just the beginning of the celebration. They plan on spending this February 14th with their family.
Es una fiesta muy grande, eso todo es
amor, cariño.
Enrique says Valentine's Day is very important. It's a day of love and affection. He believes that life is love, and without love, there isn't much life. Organizers of the dance say this is a great way to get the elderly out of their homes and socializing with each other. Senior citizen Teresa Cuevas agrees.
It reminds you when you was young.
Others like Teresa enjoyed themselves Thursday afternoon with Los Españolísimos, a couple of Spanish singers, and with lots of dancing. Through this dance and other activities, representatives of the Hialeah Housing Authority hope to make the present for these senior citizens just as enjoyable and active as their past. For Dynamic Headline News, I'm Jeanette Oropesa.
That's all for now. We hope you join us in 24 minutes when we come back with more local headlines.
Brought to you by Sedano's Supermarkets.
This is Dynamic Headline News. I'm Sandra Peebles. Eating grapes may be hazardous to your health. That's the warning a National Union of Farmers is issuing to grape lovers. Some members of the United Workers of America are taking the word from California to the streets of Miami. They claim the pesticides sprayed on grapes can cause cancer and even birth defects. According to research studies done by this group, the use of some pesticides on grapes has claimed the lives of 16 people in this country. Union members say they've tried to get legislative support without success. Besides handing out flyers, they are distributing this tape, which contains testimonies of farmers who've lost loved ones from pesticide exposure. Some consumers in our community are shocked by the news and say they'll take the warning seriously next time they go to the supermarkets.
Are you scared? Of course I am. I eat grapes. That's the only fruit that I eat.
It's scary, and I heard these news on TV, on radio, and I think I'm gonna eat no grapes no more.
There's 75 different chemicals that are used on California table grapes. Of those, about a third of those we estimate are cancer-causing and birth defect-causing chemicals. And a lot of the chemicals are used in the grapes because the growers want to provide a product that looks flawless to the consumer.
Meanwhile, some Environmental Protection Agency officials say there's insufficient data to prove that some pesticides used on grape farms cause cancer. And turning to education news, Miami-Dade Community College students may one day graduate from the institution with a bachelor's degree. School officials are laying down the groundwork to offer students a 4-year program. Together with the state university system, MDCC will initiate the pilot program. The articulation project, as it is being called, stems from student demand for higher level education and the lack of space to provide it.
Over a period of years, as Florida has grown in population, the funding for education has not kept up with the growth in population, to the point that we are very, very exclusive in who we can admit to universities. Our concern here at Miami-Dade Community College is that our students, when they're ready to transfer to the junior year, do not always have access to a state university because of lack of space.
According to the project director, the program is in its very early stages and probably won't be implemented until school year 94-95. And turning to local news, some Hialeah residents have joined forces to combat overdevelopment in their city. Judy Cordero met with members of the Hialeah Citizens Alliance Wednesday night. She files this report.
Emma Basulto is a teacher at one of the most crowded schools in the city of Hialeah, Ben Shepherd Elementary. She says the overpopulation is such that some children can't even attend a school that's close to them.
We have to bus the kids in the area, both the schools. We have a lot of problems with the traffic in the morning, in the afternoon, during the mission time. It's a raining day, is worst.
Basulto is a member of the Hialeah Citizens Alliance, a group that has united in protest of overdevelopment.
Basically 4 points that I believe we can all agree on that are concerning the residents of Hialeah. And number 1 is the value of our homes is very important to us, the education of our children, and the safety of our families is also important, and the quality of life.
8 board members make up the alliance, and they are all volunteers. According to them, they want to work for the residents of the city. Tomas Martinez says that contrary to popular opinion, they aren't politically motivated.
What we would like is that...
That was medium, right? A slice of onion. Oh, yeah, I am so sorry. Excuse me.
You know, it used to be every customer came to that door, I bought bar,
questions. Where are you from? Where are you going? What's it like there? Well, my dad, along with the rest of his customers, crazy. Hear the trains here at night. Hear that whistle. Think it was somebody screaming. Maybe it was me screaming. And I'd realize it's just a train. Bound for parts unknown. Places nobody knew me. And I'd think of myself riding those rails. Not screaming. Just moving on.
Sounds to me like you thought you'd find happiness someplace else.
Oh, I think you know the feeling. You left home to come to Uncle Sammy's.
Well, that was not easy for me.
But you did it. You know, I think we have something in common. We both left Greece.
Excuse me?
Greece. Greece? Yeah. The important thing is, I think our reasons for splitting weren't all that different, you know.
I shall also need a list of your latest story ideas. And, well, I'm at it. What's his name? William. Yes, William. I need William as my personal assistant.
Well, we can work out the details later. How would you like a tour?
Oh, I'd love one. Could you be a dear and set it up for me?
Sure.
Because at the moment, I was hoping that Julie might be able to retype a few tiny details in the agreement that I have with Holly and then messenger it over to her.
My secretary will do it.
Oh, all right, Ben. I'll be right back.
All right, Roger. I want an explanation.
Jenna's the new co-owner. End of explanation.
And I'm just supposed to accept that. I don't think so.
I don't like it any better than you do. I don't have a choice.
Roger, I don't want to hear that. Not after the sacrifices I have made for this job. I deserve more than that.
Jilly, just
No,
calm
it's
down.
because of your pressures that my marriage is in the shape that it's in. And now you're going to let your girlfriend come in here and make all these arrangements in which she knows nothing about news or television. And you're going to say that you can't do anything about
Holly
this?
Lindsay's machine said that she'll be at the Journal all day. Do you know where that is? Good. Okay, how about that tour then?
Yeah. Look, maybe first we better sort of iron out the details, just what you will be doing here. We can use Holly's office.
But it's not Holly's office anymore.
Yes, welcome back, Holly. How was the trip? Did you manage to convince Nick that you belong here?
Did you?
I don't know, which should explain my mood. But we got the equipment at a much lower price than Nick would have been able to negotiate himself.
Oh, good. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so where is the boy, Wonder?
He's still in Oklahoma. He's taking a later flight.
Uh-huh. I guess you were right then. He went to see Mindy.
Yes, he tried to convince me that the trip was not personal, but I've learned to take what most people tell me anymore with a pound of salt. I just hate feeling like I'm getting run around here.
Look, Holly, it's not me, okay? It never has been. Nick's going to have to be the one you persuade.
Well, I've told him we've got 24 hours to make up his mind. I'm just ready to come to work, you know? If he doesn't say yes...
Look, I know this isn't your favorite topic, but it's not like it's out of the blue. We just went to Frank and Lady's wedding. Harley and Mallet are gonna march down the aisle, and it's June. It's National Wedding Month or something.
Blake, my dear, marriage has been on your mind in March, April, May as well.
Oh, and not yours, right? Hey, no problem. There's a zillion reasons no self-respecting man would want to marry me. I'm too impulsive, too insecure, too... I don't know, fill in the blanks.
I hate it when you do this.
Do what?
Put yourself down.
My competitive nature. I like to beat the other guy to it.
Would you just stop it? All right? Every time we start to have a serious discussion, you either get defensive or you make a joke about it.
Sorry.
And I'm getting just a little tired of the labels, especially the ones you pin on me.
What labels?
Well, you're to this, I'm to that. I mean, how many times do you refer to me as stodgy, conservative, or introduce me as your older boyfriend?
Well, I was just teasing. Besides, you are... conservative.
when it comes to marriage, yes, I probably am.
Yeah, that's a very good example.
It's not a very easy subject for me, Blake.
Well, obviously, since you have this cute little habit of disappearing or breaking out into a rash every time that word is mentioned.
That is because you keep bringing it up, and then you pretend to make a joke out of it, and that just doesn't help, honey.
Are you saying that you would be willing to discuss this seriously?
I will, if you will.
Well, I don't know where to begin. Well, for starters, you have no idea how many imaginary conversations I've had in my head with you. You know, where I say something and then you say something, and I drive myself crazy trying to just conceive of every negative response you could possibly have. I'm so afraid of losing you.
Why?
I don't know, just your basic insecure female, I guess. Because you're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm just so afraid that if we let things go the way that they've been going, you're just gonna wake up one day and decide that I'm more trouble than I'm worth.
Blake, no offense, but after all the things that you've done, if I haven't left you before, why on earth would I do it now?
I don't know.
However, marriage is not a guarantee that two people are gonna stay together forever. I think you know that.
Well, my marriages were different. I mean, you're not the kind of man that would leave.
Don't make me out to be somebody I'm not, Blake. I walked out on my marriage, too.
Values handed down from generation to generation. That's the way of the West. For over 25 years, Winn-Dixie has brought you only the finest WD brand U.S. choice beef. And that's a tradition that will never change. Winn-Dixie, the beef people.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Would you sing I'm a Little Teapot?
No, not me.
I've got a rich, creamy Klondike bar.
I'm a little teapot.
Come on.
Short, stout.
It's a Klondike.
Here is my handle. Here is my spout.
Oh, here you go.
Here is my...
For that chocolatey coated ice cream, loaded big and thick, no room for a stick. What would you do for a Klondike bar?
You can put your spout away now, sir.
Quiet, please.
The only thing better for colors than cheer is new cheer with advanced color guard. Now, till it goes, color stays longer.
Come on, get up, let's go, up, hurry, go, hurry, hurry, Saturday.
So what? Boy, who's on the clock? Really, come on, let's go. Come on, hurry.
Even on the doggiest of mornings, the brisk, bold scent of Coast opens your eyes. And Coast's invigorating lather makes your whole body glad to be out of bed.
Come on, slow down.
How many miles are we walking today?
It's your idea to wake her up.
Coast, the eye-opener.
We'll continue with part 2 of Guiding Light in a moment.
The evening news with a difference. Eye on America. Dan Rather and now Connie Chung. Only on the CBS Evening News.
This is CBS.
Herman's World of Sporting Goods is going out of business. Now get 50% off on everything. All items now priced at or near wholesale. Shop Herman's today.
Do you know how quick and easy it is to make a bubble?
Vittorio, tell them about the sauce.
My mother. And now it's easier than ever with new bubbly pizza sauce.
Tell them it's as easy as making a sandwich.
Oh, Mama, who'd want a sandwich when they could have a bubbly? Bubbly with cheese, bubbly with chicken, bubbly with spaghetti. They're all so easy to make with new bubbly pizza sauce. Look for it on the bubbly rack like this. And remember, it's more than a pizza. It's a bubbly.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bob Soper. Coming up first at 4 on 6 Action News, investigators are looking for the cause of this deadly plane crash. Want to know how to shave tens of thousands of dollars off a new home? These people can tell you. A sign of the times or a sign of one man's bigotry. And a rare breed. Other gators are probably green with envy when they see this guy. All that, plus a new weapon in the fight against prostate cancer. All coming up first at 4 on 6 Action News.
Now, you can catch 6 Action News on the go. Keep your radio dial set to Magic 102.7 for hourly news updates, weekday afternoons from 3 till 6.
You know, Holly, I don't appreciate these games that you're playing with me. Remember, we have a common enemy here, Roger. Look, you know, I'm going to admit that my reasons for having you here, or wanting you here, are mostly self-serving, but they had absolutely nothing to do with Ross or with Blake. In case you haven't noticed, in the past few months, I have managed to lose pretty much everything that was important to me in my life. You know, my wife, the job, my house. The journal's the only thing that I have left. I'm determined to make a go of it. Now, if you are willing to devote your energy, your time, and your talent...
My money.
Yes, and your money. And I don't care whose mother you are. I want you in. I'll even call Ross right now. I'll have him draw up all the papers, make sure the contracts are ready for Nick to sign the minute he gets off the plane.
And if he develops writer's cramp?
Then I will massage his arm. Okay.
Good.
Look, I have to meet Fletcher. You're welcome to hang out and enjoy the heat.
Thanks.
Holly?
Julie, hi.
For you, from Jenna Bradshaw.
By hand. How thoughtful.
How could you do it, Holly? How could you sell your half of the station to her?
Oh, man. I can't believe your grandfather walks that trail and then he climbs this ladder right after that.
Well, Granddaddy prides himself on staying in shape.
Yeah, rub it in, why don't you? Any luck?
Oh, no, just a pair of old sunglasses. You know, it wouldn't hurt you to look, too.
I'm just catching my breath.
You are out of shape.
Yeah, but you're not.
Can you see him?
Clear as day.
What is he doing?
Looking for these darn things. Well, that should keep him busy.
Here, let me see him.
Yeah, sure. Take a look.
All right, let's see. Now, if I was a pair of binoculars, where would I be?
Probably around somebody's neck.
Oh, they're obviously not here.
Did you look behind the trap door?
Yep, twice. Oh, I guess your grandfather left them someplace else.
Maybe. But it's not like him to lose things.
Really? Well, maybe it was a Lewis trait.
What kind of a crack is that?
Melinda, you were always losing things.
I was not.
Oh, you're really touchy. Just an observation.
Well, it's a totally inaccurate one.
Oh, come on, Melinda. Don't you remember all the times that we were late for places because you couldn't find your rings or your keys
Once
or your...
in a blue moon.
Once in a blue moon, my eye. Try every time we walked out of the damn lighthouse.
Oh, man. You know, for a journalist, you really do know how to exaggerate.
Oh, yeah, right. Come on.
And what? You're Mr. Organization?
Compared to you, you bet I am.
Oh, right. The TV reporter who took notes on cocktail napkins and paper scraps. How you held on to your job, I'll never know.
You see, that shows just how little you know. All reporters write on scraps of paper.
Oh.
It lends itself to the mystique.
Uh-huh, I see. And is
garbage.
Well, how was I supposed to know they were important? It's not like your handwriting is legible.
All right, well, let's remember all the times that you forgot to turn the oven off.
What?
When I think of all those dinners that were burnt unrecognizably.
Oh, come on, that's because you couldn't keep your hands off me.
Well, face it, Melinda Sue. You're scatterbrained.
Hey, you take that back.
I guess you've forgotten about the time that you went in the bathtub with the book of sketches.
Oh, they fell in the water.
When you started screaming, I was bounding up those stairs 3, 4 at a time.
I lost a week's work.
I thought you were drowning or something.
You tried to towel them dry.
Oh, yeah, I remember. And I made them even worse by smearing them all over the place.
I was so mad at you.
What? I was only trying to help. I felt so bad for you.
Tell me something. This little trip to Cross Creek, it wasn't just about newspaper business, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Legend says dangling your feet in the lake at Dunlow keeps you feeling fresh and clean the rest of your days. There's a bit of this in every bar of Irish Spring. Ah, the lost and fresh scent of Irish Spring. The Irish never quit.
Try Airwick Airwaves, the air freshening system you control. Turn it on. Turn it on. Turn it up. Turn it up. Way up. Way up. Turn it down. Turn it down. Way down. Way down. Completely adjustable Airwick Airwaves, the advanced air freshening system.
If you like whole grain, just look what we've done. With Nutri-Grain waffles, whole grains, a whole lot of fun. For whole grain goodness, you can't be slow. Whole grain's a whole other reason to never let go.
The taste, nutrition, and fiber of whole grain, with no cholesterol, no sugar added, and no preservatives. Nutri-Grain, the whole grain waffle.
Whole grain's a whole other reason to never let go. Nutri-Grain waffles from Eggo.
It's good. I guess it's everywhere by now.
Spam burger hamburger. California spam burger. Cajun spam burger. Minnesota spam burger. Texas spam burger.
It's made with ham. You just cut it like this, and you get 3/4 pound burgers. You can't beat that.
Get Spam Luncheon before Spam Light, and you've got the Spam Burger. It's one great tasting hamburger.
She hasn't seen Richard in months. She's almost forgotten his smile. Her train is 4 hours late. Her name is Alyssa. And she's constipated. Get over it. Get X-Lax. It's a pill, it's gentle, and it works. Get X-Lax. Get regular.
We're going to Rome! Thursday, these unattached ladies find love Italian style. Lonnie Anderson, Shanna Reed, and Stephanie Kramer, coins in the fountain. The biggest stars return to the stage. Find out who'll win for Best Performances, Best Play, and Musical. Live from Broadway, Liza Minnelli hosts the Tony Awards Sunday.
You expect me to believe that?
Well, I can't do anything about it, Melinda. If you do, you don't. It happens to be the truth.
Oh, this is a real eye-opener, Nick. If I came all the way from Tulsa to see you, at least I'd have the courage to admit it.
All right, wait a minute. Let me get this clear. You think that I came here just to see you?
Oh, yeah, I know you did. Only you're too cowardly to come clean.
Wait a minute. I'm a coward?
Yeah, you are.
You know, you're the last person who should be calling anybody a coward, Melinda.
Oh. Okay. You want to talk about the time that we were supposed to get married? I thought we put all that behind us. But if you want to rehash what I did, what Alexandra did, and what Eve did, well, then you just say the word.
No. No. That's the last thing that I want to do, Melinda. It's just...
Just what?
It's just that we can't just magically go back to the way that things used to be.
Well, did I say that I wanted to? I am never Going backwards again. Look, why don't you just leave, okay? Just leave.
Fine. I'm out of here.
Holly, it's not too late. Don't sell out to Jenna.
Jilly, it is time WSPR and I parted company.
Okay, then sell to me.
What are you saying? 2 weeks ago, you hated being there so much you wanted me to fire you.
Yes, and you refused me and left me there with Roger to hang. Now, look, it's one thing to contend with him alone, but to endure taking orders from his girlfriend, too.
Has she started bossing you around already?
Oh, you know it's bound to happen.
How'd you come up with that kind of money?
From my parents. Now, they know how committed I am. They would give me a loan. Look, all you have to do is just say the word and I will go see them. Just say yes.
No. No. I made the deal with Jenna. We shook on it. These are the contracts. I'm sorry.
Holly, why didn't you give me a chance to buy your shares? Come on, is this some kind of revenge against me for taking your job?
No, on the contrary. Look, Jilly, if it's going to be so difficult for you to work with Roger and Jenna, why don't you consider making the same move that Nick did?
You mean come here, to the Journal?
Yeah, I'm considering it myself.
So that's it. You want WSPR to fall apart. This wasn't any kind of revenge against me. This is your big payback to Roger.
You completely misunderstand my relationship with Holly.
I do?
Absolutely. I mean, there's been nothing between us for years, other obviously than a mutual concern for our daughter.
Blake is a grown woman now.
Yeah, but she's had a troubled life. I mean, she needs us for attention, guidance.
Do you really expect me to believe that all your last-minute, late-night drop-ins were just to guide your daughter? Please don't con a con artist.
Wouldn't dream of it, my darling.
And don't patronize me either, Roger. My motivation here is not purely jealousy. I do intend to make a difference at this station.
Great.
Look, I know that I have a lot to learn where business is concerned, but I am learning, Roger. When Spaulding was dropped into my hands, rather, when you helped me win back what was wrongfully taken from my father, I decided that's when I need to pull my life together, too. I want you to be proud of me. That's why I've been reading up on all the Spaulding history. I've even been working with a tutor. And maybe one day, I might be able to run Spaulding all by myself.
Was that a warning?
No. I just intend to be very good at what I do. And I don't want to be so dependent on you. It's not healthy for either one of us.
Jenna, dependent is the last word that would occur to me in seeking to describe you. At any rate, here at the station, we're going to be equal partners.
Hopefully. This may leave a sour taste in our mouths, but I think I better bring it up. Even though we are 50-50 owners of this place, you really can't afford to tick me off. You could lose your place at Spaulding. So all I ask is that you stay away from Holly. Now, that shouldn't be too difficult, should it?
Absolutely not. In fact, I'm prepared to make a deal with you right now. I stay away from Holly from this day forward, and in return, you give your word to stay away from Buzz Cooper.
Ah, come on, call it a trial run. Sit down, sit.
Budgie. You know when you said that you and I are alike, you were not right. You're wrong. Because to me, family comes first, and I would never have come to this country unless they encouraged me to do so.
Which raises the question, why did they?
Well, so that I could get better things for myself, to better myself.
Well, nobody wanted better for me but me. Sometimes a guy has to be a self-starter, you know?
Yes, but the difference is I did not leave a husband and children behind.
Maybe I wanted better things for all of us. You know? You don't know what I was thinking. Nobody does, and that's fine. But I am not about to get down on my knees about it. Regrets are a part of life, no matter what Frank Sinatra says. And if you can truthfully say, I did it my way, you're ahead of the game. But hearing somebody else's regrets is one of the most boring things you can do, so I'm not going to subject you to that. I think you know a little about it, though. You married the wrong man before you got around to marrying Frank. He didn't make you grovel, so why don't you do unto others as they did to you? Stop asking me the whys and wherefores, and find me an apron that fits.
Frankie would go through the roof.
I'm also a very good man with a shingle and a tar brush.
Now you can pay even less every day at Payless, because they've rolled back prices on some of summer's greatest women's, men's, and kids' styles. How much is even less? These leather sandals were just $15.99. Now they're even less at $12.99 every day. These leather sneakers were just $14.99. Now they're even less at $12.99. And these $14.99 can't keep them on the shelves kids' shoes, now just $12.99. That's less, and that's just the beginning. So come pay even less at Payless. Doesn't it feel good to pay less? Even less.
It's where you thought they'd gone to retire, maybe to play shuffleboard, but they had other ideas. And now they're why most of your calls go to the same area code. Call AT&T now, and you could pay less for them. Spend $40 or more a month, we'll take 25% off your favorite area code, plus 15% off your other calls. Guaranteed, with no fee. But you have to call 1-800-426-KAI-PLAN. Real savings made simple. Just another part of the iPlan.
Now people are feeling shower fresh in a new way.
Shower to shower each day. Oh, helps keep odor away.
Introducing Shower to Shower Antiperspirant.
Shower to shower each day. Helps keep wetness away.
We've combined the most effective anti-wetness ingredient with cornstarch to keep you feeling fresh and dry all day. New Shower to Shower Antiperspirant.
Dick, come here. Is this the American Family Sweepstakes that's in the mail this week? Yes, with our picture right here. Look. See. And the prize this time? $10 million. You know he's not kidding. Send that entry in today.
How do you add rich, full flavor with no fat, no cholesterol, and very little sodium? The original way. Lee and Perrins. The original Worcestershire.
Look, Holly, if you won't sell to me, at least reconsider selling to Jenna. Try and find another buyer.
Jillian, if you can handle Roger, you can handle Miss Bradshaw.
What's going on up there?
Good news is good news. That's what Dad always says.
Well, let's see what's going on in the world.
The Cubs beat the Phillies again.
You don't say. Did you find my binoculars?
No, I didn't.
You don't need to bite my head off. Nick!
Sorry, HB, we couldn't find them.
Well, I wonder what happened to them. Well, thanks for looking.
May I use your phone, please? I'd like to try and get a flight out of here.
Help yourself. I think we'll excuse ourselves.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse us.
Come on.
The reason I don't want to go out and tackle some minister and commit marriage again is probably because, I don't know, I'm just not ready to make it legal yet.
A lawyer not wanting to make it legal, just my luck.
You know, I've got a sneaking suspicion, Blake, that you have this romanticized version of marriage, and you think that if we stand at an altar and we make vows of love to one another, it will erase all the bad things that ever happened to you.
It might.
It won't. I found out the hard way. Because I was a lot like you. I was eager to take risks. I was willing to give up everything for love.
Are you talking about your first wife?
My only wife, Carrie, yes.
You never say much about her.
It seems so long ago. But I wanted nothing more than to just be with her and see her smile and hear her voice. And naturally, we got married. And naturally, I thought this was going to last forever. But it didn't. Because we found out that we rushed into it. And we really didn't know one another at all.
Well, maybe it was just more one-sided than we are. Maybe somebody loved the other person more or something.
The first thing that went wrong, she didn't see a problem, was sleeping with another man.
I'm sorry, Ross.
She claimed that she loved me, even when I walked in on them. And if I have a little trouble trusting women, that's probably the reason why, I'd say.
You couldn't forgive her.
I tried, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get this mental image out of my mind, and that probably explains why things didn't work out so well with your mother and me.
She cheated on you?
No, not physically she didn't, but right or wrong, I couldn't help but think that she wanted to be with your father, and that no matter what I did, they were always going to have this love-hate relationship.
I think you're right.
But that really doesn't concern me right now because I'm in love with you. And I'm here trying to explain to you that I may be just a little slow when it comes to the subject of getting married again, because I find it rather difficult to trust.
Even me?
You're the first woman I've trusted since Carrie. And even that took a little while. Now, Blake, I am not saying never. All I'm saying is that I need a little more time, and I think if you're patient, we'll both get what we want.
I'll get it, I'll get it, I'll get it.
Hi, listen, air conditioning. Listen, does Ross have the... Never mind. Ross, do you have the contracts and papers for the deal with Holly?
Yeah, of course I do. Give me a minute.
Great, great. What's wrong?
What's right, really? You know, Alan Michael, I think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life paying for that one night.
Reach for a star and read Ted Danson's tender story of his 9-month romance with Whoopi Goldberg. He says their love is here to stay. Then, Beverly Hills 9021. Uh-oh. TV brat Shannon Doherty's lover says she threatened to shoot me and run me over. Reach for a star and see how this ex-Miss Universe beauty lost 50 pounds with a new diet candy. Plus, meet Liz Taylor's private army. Israeli sharpshooters with Uzi machine guns guard her 24 hours a day. Reach for a star.
I'm sorry, Billy. There's just no room for hotshot basketball, crocodile dentist, battleship memory, Connect 4, Guess Who, Yahtzee, Perfection, Trouble, or Shark Attack.
Well, then I'm not going.
Don't worry. Bring along Milton Bradley travel games. Compact versions are your kids' favorite games like Crocodile Dentist and Hotshot Basketball. They're perfect on the road and when you get there.
Yeah!
Leaving more room for souvenirs.
Look at this!
No, Billy. Mr. Iguana stays.
Milton Bradley travel games. It's fun on the run.
If you suffer from the common aches and pains of arthritis, doctors know that a safe and effective way to relieve them is something you may already have in your home. Extra strength Tylenol gel caps. Tylenol helps relieve arthritis pain without irritating your stomach, the way aspirin or even ibuprofen can. What should you take for your arthritis pain? Talk to your doctor. The answer may be closer than you think. Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Are there some days your hair needs more conditioning, some days it needs less?
No matter what your hair goes through, Finesse is always there for you. Finesse your hair to beautiful.
Finesse Adjusting Conditioner tracks your hair's changing needs. Conditions more on days you need it, less on days you don't.
Finesse your hair to beautiful, beautiful. Finesse your hair to beautiful. Finesse your hair to beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If I leave now, I can catch the next flight out of Tulsa to Springfield.
Better step on it.
Fine. Look, tell HB and Bill I say goodbye. Wait a minute. Where the hell are my keys?
How should I know?
They were just in my pocket.
Lucky you're not scatterbrained like I am.
You're so funny, Melinda.
You know, if you miss your plane, don't think you're gonna bunk in here for the night.
Don't worry about it, all right? I would rather sleep in my car than sleep under the same roof as you.
Well, that won't be so easy if you're locked out of it.
I'm not locked out of the damn...
Not the sharpest tool in the shed, are you?
That's great, Melinda. Just keep up with the insults. They're really helping a lot. I really hate this.
Well, if you're not gonna leave, I am.
I knew it. They're crazy for each other.
Oh, this feels weird.
Well, we are not going to have one custom made for you.
I wasn't talking about the size. You won't regret this.
You might. I mean, we do not have enough money in the payroll to put somebody else on payroll, so you're going to have to work for tips only. I mean,
How many people do I have to pull my tips with?
no one. They're all yours.
Sundays off?
Sundays off.
Well, I graciously accept your gracious offer for semi-employment.
What's going on? What's employment?
Yeah, Mr. Cooper here is going to help us out in the diner.
Maitre Lanis, Frank will not like this.
You're a good daughter-in-law.
Oh, if you want to thank me, you better do well, all right? I have not changed my mind about you.
Who's asking you to? You got a quarter? I work better to music.
Well, I'm still waiting to hear your intentions toward your sometime firecracker instructor.
Mr. Buzz Cooper means absolutely nothing to me.
And Holly means absolutely nothing to me.
So can I take that to mean that you won't be dropping in on her?
You bet. And can I take it that you will have nothing more to do with, what's his name? Just tell him to buzz off?
That won't be a problem at all. So, do we have a deal?
Thank you. To all of you attracted by Buick's reputation for quality, but who think a new Buick is beyond your means, may I make the following suggestion? Go see the new Buick Skylark Custom. It is every bit a quality Buick. And as the most affordable Buick for 1993, it makes Buick quality more attractive than ever.
We're at the Huggies Open, where the competition has a wet diaper and is pretty teed off. Now it's Huggies' turn. With a revolutionary ultra-trim diaper, it quickly disperses wetness into super-absorbent materials that lock wetness away from the surface to keep skin drier than Pampers. And ultra-trim is nearly 50% thinner than Pampers, so it's comfortable for putting around. It's a hole-in-one for Huggies Ultra Trim for the driest players on the diaper tour.
The heat of stardom ignites a songwriter's rage.
I want 50,000 to begin with.
And fair play could become foul play in the heat of the night. Then, think you've seen it all on TV talk shows? Wait till you see what goes on behind the scenes. Everybody's talking. An all-new 48 hours after Heat of the Night. Tonight.
This has been Guiding Light. Silver and marcasite jewelry by Vintage Creations.
Now, 6 Action News, taking action for you.
Is it reading, writing, and harassment in our nation's schools? Wait till you hear how many of your kids say they've been sexually harassed. Another death attributed to that mysterious illness sweeping the Southwest, and controversy over a for sale sign. A house owner, a Detroit homeowner, turns it into an ugly racial insult. Our top stories first at 4 on 6 Action News. I'm Bob Soper.
And I'm Diana Morgan. This story just in the 6 Action News. We have word of a baby who died in a car in the parking lot of an apartment complex in North Dade. Police say the mother left that child in the car in the heat of the day. Police are investigating at 271 Northwest 177th Street, and a 6 Action News crew is on the way. We hope to have a live report coming up shortly. Bob?
Some are calling it sexual harassment epidemic. Easy to understand when you hear the numbers coming out of the latest study on sexual harassment in our schools. Nearly 4 out of every 5 teenagers questioned admitted they'd been the target of harassment, sometimes starting as early as elementary school. 6 Action News reporter Dave Game has more on the problem, plus a look at how you can tell if your child is a victim. He's in our newsroom now with what he found. Dave?
Well, Bob, the study was done by the American Association of University Women. They called it hostile hallways. And whether or not you agree with the results of the study, it's something to make your eyes open. The subject may be history or math, but the setting is a classroom for sexual dysfunction, if you believe the survey of 1,600 teenagers released today. The study claims that by the 8th grade, the vast majority of students, both girls and boys, have been the victims of sexual harassment. Problem the study's backers say has been virtually ignored by educators.
What's happening in the school systems is creating a rock-solid foundation for what continues on into the workplace and is consequently really devastating an awful lot of lives.
So what makes up high school harassment? As in the adult world, sexual comments or looks. 76% of the girls and 56% of the boys claim to have been victims. More than half the girls and less than half the boys claim to have been grabbed or touched in a sexual way. But look what else made the list. Mooning someone, being the target of sexual rumors, even getting unwanted notes. And remember, boys are targets as well as girls. But try getting a guy to admit he's harassed.
I couldn't believe that.
Never happened to you?
No. Not happened to me.
And while girls admit to being harassed, their definition is a lot tougher than the studies.
I've had guys try to, like come up to me and hug me and stuff, but I don't call that harassment. I call hey baby, yo, come over here, and they try to touch you and stuff. That's harassment. That's what I think is harassment, but it's never happened to me.
The study claims that harassment begins as early as the 3rd grade. Child psychologist David Lustig has a problem with that.
To say that elementary school children who are just beginning to have some concept of what sexuality is all about are harassing people by making lewd suggestions or things that they don't even understand completely is absolutely absurd.
Lustig believes adults attach more weight to the behavior because it offends them. The kids just take it in stride. Pat French thinks that attitude is outdated.
Boys will be boys, they're teasing. But do they stop and try to figure out what is happening to that child's feelings?
French doesn't blame educators for missing this. She said sensitivity is just now picking up in the result of the Anita Hill hearings and that type of thing. But she says it's now time for them to start thinking about sensitivity in the schools to make sure that this kind of problem doesn't carry over into adulthood, doesn't carry over into the workplace. Back to you.
Thanks, Dave. You know, there are some warning signs to watch for to know if your child is being harassed. Look for a reluctance to go to school or a reluctance to even talk about school. Look for signs of withdrawal or nightmares as well. Less than 1 week after William Lozano was acquitted of manslaughter, 3 Detroit police officers are going on trial in the beating death of a motorist. Jury selection began today. Witnesses say Malice Green was beaten continuously on a Detroit street last November after police confronted him near a suspected crack house. The case could pit the police officers against each other because 2 of the officers are being tried separately in front of 2 different juries, but they'll be in the same courtroom. Diana?
Less than 1 week after the William Lozano verdict came down, a rally is just about to get underway in Overtown. As we told you last night, a march in that same spot was postponed at the last minute without any explanation. 6 Action News reporter Beverly Counts Rodriguez is in Overtown right now. She joins us with more. Beth?
Diana, at 5 this afternoon, just about an hour from now, a protest rally against the Lozano verdict will be here in Overtown, here at the corner of Northwest 3rd Avenue and 16th Street, the site of the shooting 4 years ago. Now, as we said, a march was also planned, but that's been postponed until the end of the month. Now, rally organizer Willie Sims says that today's rally is a chance for people still upset with the verdict to express their concerns in a constructive manner.
You've got a lot of people who are really agitated and who feel a sense of hopelessness, and we've got to restore that hope. We've got to erase the negative picture that was painted of a community by Mr. Roy Black. You know, when you have shootings at schools, they bring in psychological counselors. Our young people have been damaged by Roy Black, who painted this community as a group of criminals, one that you have to have your gun out waiting to shoot anything that moves, and that's not so.
Now, Sims said that community leaders will talk about other legal avenues available. Last week, the NAACP asked for a civil rights inquiry in behalf of the victims of that shooting. However, many in the legal community feel that that may not be viable. However, that request is in. So the rally will deal with those issues and others. And again, we say it's at 5 o'clock here at the corner of Northwest 3rd Avenue and 16th Street. And we will be there at 5 o'clock. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Beverly. Blatant racism in the form of a for sale sign is tearing a Detroit suburb apart. A homeowner is trying to sell his house, and as reporter John Knowles shows us, his racism is displayed pretty openly on his front yard in a sign that clearly reads, "No blacks allowed."
Get off my property. Is there a reason why you won't talk to me and talk to the other reporters? What color is your skin, buddy? That's the reason why you won't talk to me? That's right.
Peter Poprowski of Waterford is an admitted racist. His neighbors found that out Sunday. One of them took this picture of the for sale sign he put up in front of his house. On the bottom it says, "No blacks allowed."
I was horrified. My kids were horrified. My kids are the ones that came up to me, and the neighborhood kids came up to me and showed me the sign and said, "Look at the sign down there." And it was unbelievable.
Neighbors called police, who came out and ordered Poprowski to take down the sign. Poprowski took it down, but is by no means apologetic about having it up in the first place.
Because I don't want black people inquiring, and I want them to know before they even try to pull in my driveway, don't even bother talking to me. Why? Because of what happened 2 weeks earlier.
Poprowski says 2 black men broke into his house, held him at gunpoint, and took $2,500. That's why he's moving.
Neighbors around here say what really bothers them about this is how it makes their neighborhood look, that somehow people outside will think he speaks for them.
In Waterford, John Noel for CBS News.
6 Action News wanted to know if displaying a sign like that would be illegal here in Florida. We took action for you, and we got some answers. Under the Federal Fair Housing Act, it is illegal for anyone to prohibit renting or selling property to someone based on their race. Also, their ethnicity, disability, or their family status. Bob?
A mystery illness attacking mainly Native Americans may have slowed. There have been no new cases since Saturday, and that's encouraging news for New Mexico health officials. The illness has killed 13 people, infected another 36, and health authorities are no closer to finding the cause. It's Independence Day on the Navajo reservation, but a deadly sickness is holding them captive. Indian Health Services phones ringing off the hook. People have many questions about the illness, but there are very few answers.
A lot of people weren't aware of how serious this problem was until just the last couple of days.
Day to day, children play unconcerned, but for mothers, each day is full of fear. Part of the strategy to find the cause of the flu-like illness, interview people living on or near the Navajo reservation about what they eat, drink, and even ceremonial practices. In our area, federal investigators are on the scene today of a deadly plane crash on the edge of the Everglades. The twin-engine Cessna crashed in southwest Dade last night. 26-year-old Lawrence Mahoney and 44-year-old Raul Vega were killed. No word yet on the cause of the crash. The plane had taken off from Tamiami Airport, and ironically, its mission was to search for a missing plane. That plane was found, and it had landed safely. The state of Florida could be facing a lawsuit soon in connection with a fiery plane crash last year. The crash took the life of a state executive, and now his widow wants to sue the state. But as 6 Action News Capitol reporter Clay Loney explains in this exclusive report, she may not get the chance.
This was the scene 1 year ago when a state-owned passenger plane crashed near St. Augustine, killing the pilot and the only passenger, the former Secretary of the Department of Community Affairs, Bill Sadowski. Now his widow, Jean Sadowski, will hear this week whether she can file a wrongful death suit against the state of Florida. Jean Sadowski declined to speak to us on camera, but her attorney, Bob Parks in Miami, confirmed the action.
We would file a straight common law negligence action and wrongful death suit against the state of Florida, yes.
Later this week, a judge here in Tallahassee will determine if Mrs. Sadowski has the right to sue the state. You see, workers' compensation laws prohibit state employees from suing the states under most circumstances. But Mrs. Sadowski's attorney hopes to get around that by arguing that Bill Sadowski, as it relates to this accident, should be treated as any other passenger would.
Mr. Sadowski's position, if we prevail in this action, would be that of a passenger who is owed the highest degree of care in this situation by the airline, which is in effect the state of Florida airline, flying him. And negligent operation and maintenance would be items we would be looking into to determine whether they were present.
If the court rules that the death of Bill Sadowski should be treated as that of a passenger instead of as a state employee, Mrs. Sadowski's attorney says that not only means the state could be sued for negligence, but Mrs. Sadowski could be entitled to greater insurance benefits.
Simple fact of the matter is we're just going to take this one step at a time, and if we don't prevail Thursday, then it's all moot.
In Tallahassee, Clay Loney, 6 Action News.
In the days right after Hurricane Andrew, few of us would have predicted much of a future for the country walk community.
It was one of the areas Andrew hit particularly hard, but 9 months later, signs of rebuilding are everywhere.
And Action News anchor Ileana Varela is in Country Walk right now with more for us. Ileana?
Well, Bob, Diana, gauging the progress out here kind of depends on how you look at the hourglass. Is it half empty or half full? If you were to come out here for the first time today and you looked around, you may think that they've got a long way to go. But if you were out here right after the storm like we were and you saw the incredible devastation and you came back today, I think you'd get a feeling that they've come a long way out here. Today they brought out a mariachi band to welcome back Sedano's, a local supermarket destroyed by Andrew. Although other markets in the area have gradually reopened, the large Hispanic population out here has been trekking up to Miami to buy ethnic food.
I feel like everybody's like happier. Even my mother down here made it a big event. Oh, they're opening Sedano's, let's go down there.
But for every store that reopens, many more are still struggling to come back. And for every house rebuilt, others wait in shambles. 95% of the 1,500 homes at Country Walk were destroyed in the hurricane. Only about 10% of them have been rebuilt so far. Then there's a big hurricane debris dump across the street from Country Walk, an eyesore and a possible health hazard. You know, when people started throwing out hurricane debris, they also threw out paint cans, household solvents, household chemicals, and they all ended up in dumps like this, mixed in. Well, now there is concern that because of the rains we had over the weekend, some toxic chemicals may have washed into the ground, contaminating it. Still, there are signs everywhere that Country Walk is pulling through. Last week, they broke ground for a new elementary school that will be finished by 1994. And now that Disney has settled with condo owners at the villages of Country Walk, demolition has started. The new condos should be completed in a year.
It feels very good after all this time to finally see something happening and to know that the rebuild is going to start anytime now. It's a good feeling.
These HRS office workers say they've seen the progress from their office smack in the middle of the neighborhood.
It's all cleaned up. The grass is coming back green. The flowers are blooming. The trees are growing. And people are coming back, watching the progress of their home.
Now, Bob, Diana, we chose this spot right here because this is one of the positive signs of Country Walk. This is an area that is beginning to look like the old Country Walk. But remember, 90% of the homes out here still have to be rebuilt. Back to you.
Actually looks pretty good, Ileana.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, as we enter hurricane season, 6 Action News wants to make sure that you are prepared for anything that comes our way. That's why we have put together your Hurricane Survival Guide. Be sure to tune in for a 1-hour primetime special coming up this Thursday night at 8 o'clock.
What lengths would you go to get a good deal on a new home? How about camping out for days? That's how far these people are willing to go. The first 20 people at the grand opening of the Spring Valley development in Pembroke Pines get the chance to buy at below builder prices, allegedly saving $35,000 to $40,000. Prospective home buyers started lining up yesterday. The developer says it might cost him a few bucks, but hey, he admits it buys him publicity.
We do it for promotion, we do it for the campaign, and it just builds a hype. It builds a momentum that the people just generate. The sales through our development will continue like this right through the whole development.
No doubt Glassman is smiling about the latest news on home sales from Uncle Sam. The federal government reports the sales of new homes soared to the highest level in 6 years in April. They were up a whopping 22.7%.
Wow.
Yeah, good
well,
news.
we have some severe weather out there right now.
Let's go to Action News forecaster Maria Gennaro to see if it's going to continue. Maria?
We sure do, Bob and Diane. Over the next couple of hours, we are under a severe thunderstorm watch here in Dade County, but Broward, especially the western portion of Broward right now, is under a severe thunderstorm warning, which means there are severe thunderstorms in the area. Let's go to radar and see exactly what we see. And yeah, where you see the yellow and the dark blue and the green, that's where the heaviest activity is. Where you see the light blue, that's where the light activity is. We had some light showers around, you can see, down throughout Dade and also South Dade with maybe a downpour or two. But as you move up to Fort Lauderdale, that's where the most intense activity is. It's moving up to the north, should be moving into Palm Beach County soon. So until 4:30, well, actually 4:15, should be expiring in a few minutes. The warning is in effect for Broward County. The watch is in effect until 8 o'clock for all of South Florida. So clearing skies after about 8 o'clock tonight. Could see a few showers early on, as you can see by radar, and then we should be clearing out. Low temperature 73, and we'll have more on the weather when we come back in just a few. Back to you two.
Beginning to look a lot like summer.
Yes, it sure is, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see you in a bit, Maria.
Yeah.
Darn it. Still ahead in your first look at 4, Maria will be back in a couple of minutes with a new segment that we're calling Take Me Home.
If you're looking to adopt a new pet, you'll want to tune in.
Also ahead, another reason to keep alcohol on the Health Watch hit list.
Don't look for the president to unveil his health care reform package anytime soon. We'll explain why. And the doctor is in.
I sure am. Some emotional testimony about the need for stricter meat inspections. I'm Dr. Steve Greenberg. I'll have that and the rest of the health news when Action News continues, so stay right there.
Also had a major retailer coming right into your living room, a Money Watch report.
And a little later, an Earth Watch report of a different color. Meet Gaston de Gager. Still ahead.
I'll get the cereal, honey.
Morning. You'll love this cereal.
Where'd you come from?
A different time when grains were kept whole for the natural hearty taste. Great grains, toasted wheat, oats, and barley, kept whole. Full of flavor.
Pecans, dates, raisins.
Enjoy it with the missus.
Thanks.
Great. Where'd you get this?
Mind if I tell her?
What was great back then is great grains now. A great cereal from Post.
I hit the floor at 9 a.m. and I'm going non-stop till we close. That's why I fix a dent and forget it.
An all-night shift and 5 cups of coffee, no problem. Now I fix a dent and forget it.
Even in the hottest liquids, when other adhesives stop holding, Fix-A-Dent holds stronger and longer.
Why not?
Now that he switched to Fix-A-Dent, he can go from morning till night and still eat like that.
For the strongest, longest hold, Fix-A-Dent and forget it.
These are the reports we're covering for you on today's Health Watch this afternoon. The president's health plan apparently stuck in the waiting room. Parents are telling the government what to do about preventing another deadly E. coli bacteria outbreak.
We've heard what steroids do to your body, but what about your brain? We'll tell you about one study. And eat your veggies, but be careful what you wash them down with. 6 Action News Health Watch reporter Dr. Steve Greenberg here with the details. Dr. Steve.
Bob and Diana, they say doctors make you wait. Now it looks like the president is playing the same game. The Wall Street Journal says Mr. Clinton probably won't reveal his health care reform plan until at least September, maybe later. The original target date was May 1st, but that was pushed back to the middle of this month. The delay is reportedly so Mr. Clinton can focus on his economic package. The people who are most affected by the spread of E. coli bacteria this year are offering their advice on how to prevent another deadly outbreak. The USDA held public hearings in Seattle on ways to improve the meat inspection system. In January, hundreds of people got sick and 2 children died after being infected with the bacteria that was apparently in hamburger meat. The most dramatic testimony came from parents.
One day you have a healthy child, and literally the next you have a child having bloody diarrhea. A child who looks at you with their big blue eyes. Mommy, please take the pain away.
Meat inspection reforms have been in place since the outbreak, but one parent said if there are problems with the meat tests, the government should at least, quote, fix them. And a report in today's journal, the American Medical Association, certainly doesn't pump up the use of steroids. In fact, it confirms what doctors have suspected for some time, that anabolic steroids cause dramatic changes in behavior and mood. The first study to measure the impact of these muscle-building drugs found an increased distraction, depression, and violence. If you haven't gotten the message before, here it is again. Another study says it's never too late to quit smoking. Research in the journal, the American Medical Association, says even elderly smokers will get some immediate benefits if they kick the habit. And if you're looking for more motivation, the study also found that longer smokers puffed, the faster their lungs aged. Another study issues a warning about drinking too much alcohol. It seems the anti-cancer benefit of eating fruits and vegetables will be washed away if you have more than 2 drinks of alcohol per day. Researchers say the booze washes away something called folate, a nutrient common in fruit and vegetables that helps protect against cancer. As always, if you want more information on any of today's Health Watch reports, just call our famous Health Watch hotline. In Dade, call 592-5717. In Broward, the number is 746-5717. And Bob and Diana, those calls, of course, are free. And I'll be back a little bit later with a new treatment for prostate cancer being tried out, where else? Right here in South Florida. I'll have that in about 20 minutes or so.
Okay,
back
we'll
to you
see
two.
you then. Thanks, Doc.
There's more still ahead in your first look at 4. A woman who tried to pass herself off as a boy and very nearly pulled it off. You'll hear why.
Do your kids feel in control of their own lives? The latest findings from a Kids Issues report. And there's more.
I'm Kevin Kraus. Coming up on the Age Journal report, a look inside Camp Alpha at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
There's a gentle way to get your carpet clean. Call Stanley Steamer. Stanley Steamer's exclusive steam cleaning process is tough on dirt, but gentle on carpet. It even helps carpet last longer, unlike shampooing. That's why leading carpet manufacturers recommend us.
Call right now for our current spring special.
Call Stanley Steamer.
We're tough on dirt.
Gentle on carpet.
Morning breath.
Once you're married, you get used to it.
Deep down, you know it's a problem.
I don't smell anything.
Lucky you.
Morning breath. If I had it, they'd tell me.
Ignoring morning breath won't make it go away. Scope will. Its 2 powerful ingredients kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Is my morning breath really a big problem?
There's no denying it's a problem. Kiss morning breath goodbye. Scope.
Summer's near, and that could mean more Cubans using rafts to flee their country. The Coast Guard has already rescued record numbers of Cuban refugees this year. Through May, the Coast Guard has picked up 869 rafters, a record for any 5-month period since 1983. That number far surpasses last year's total of only 248 for the same period. If the trend continues, the Coast Guard says we'll surpass the annual record by far of rafters trying to come here.
Action News assignment editor Kevin Krause is back from Guantanamo, Cuba, where he visited Haitian HIV patients at the U.S. military base there. Kevin, like the migrants, is HIV positive and gives us his thoughts and perspective on this visit in tonight's AIDS Journal.
The children of Guantanamo's Camp Alpha sing their message, one I heard and saw many times during my visit. They want out of what the military calls a migrant detention camp, out of what they call prison. Everyone agrees the situation is depressing. 23-year-old Gentil Coq is HIV positive and distraught.
The place is not good, we can't happy. And then we still ask the government why they keep us there.
They're prevented from going back to Haiti, should they want to go, and they're prevented from going to the United States because they're HIV positive. And so that's pretty frustrating when you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Already there have been 2 suicide attempts at the camp. Some of the refugees tell me they are considering mass suicide. It's a threat camp officials take seriously, even though the Haitians have no access to weapons. Last week, camp medics had a drill to prepare in case the refugees tried to drink cleaning chemicals, the method most easily available at Camp Alpha. Death is one of the only ways out of Guantanamo for these people. Illness is another, and so is childbirth. Women go out of their way to get pregnant, which means a guaranteed trip to Miami and freedom when they have their babies. But this is a tragic freedom. The infants conceived in a desperate fight for liberty may also be born into the world HIV positive like their mothers. Others wait for their health to decline, to be diagnosed with full-blown AIDS, so they can come to the United States for treatment. It's incredibly hot. Conditions are questionable, dilapidated buildings, inadequate food, the refugees tell me. I wonder just how I would do in this camp for even a month. Temperatures can go over 100 degrees in the summer. The Haitians are crammed into these long buildings called hooches without any air conditioning. Flies and mosquitoes are everywhere. All of this can hurt their immune systems. The medical care at Guantanamo is a far cry from what I can get in Miami. The tiny clinic stocks AZT and other AIDS medications, which most refugees usually refuse. Few trust the camouflage-dressed medics, who they see as their jailers. And the Haitians ask, why treat us like criminals? What are we guilty of? Is it a crime to test positive for a virus? If so, I'm a criminal too. There's a unique bond flowing through our veins. Yet due to politics and the ironic fact that I was born in America and not Haiti, I am free to leave Guantanamo, to return home to South Florida, and a future far more hopeful than that of those who must wait to become ill at Camp Alpha. For now, 158 Haitians remain at Guantanamo. Their attorneys expect a decision from a federal judge in New York by the middle of next week as to if and when these people can come to the United States.
They really are living in pretty sad conditions there.
They really are.
Okay, Kevin, thank you very much for that report. Bob?
Topping today's kids' issues, AIDS awareness. Specifically, the reluctance of one Florida school district to let its students learn about the disease. Anchor Barbara Sloan has that and more for us. Hi, Barb.
Hi, Bob. You're going to hear a lot about this story, I suspect. The district you're referring to is in Northeast Florida. Seems Miss America, Leonza Cornett, was told she could not mention AIDS during a speech to students in Stark. Cornett, who is from Florida, has made AIDS awareness the focus of her one-year reign. Another speech to high school students near Jacksonville was canceled altogether. The superintendent of the district made the decision. The principal of the high school involved says if it had been up to her, she would have let Cornett speak. One of the leading causes of accidental preventable deaths in children is drowning. And not just with preschoolers. That's why summertime, when kids are out of school and in the water, is the most important time for parents to be aware of drowning prevention. Supervision will prevent more drowning deaths than any other single measure. This includes keeping your eyes on your kids at all times, staying outside with them, keeping playthings out of the water, and not relying on inflatable devices to keep your children afloat. Barriers are important too. Make sure your pool has a fence or safety cover that will keep kids out when you're not around. Learn how to administer CPR to children and keep a phone near the pool area. That's one thing you can't be too careful about. Another sign of the times for kids, fewer youngsters today feel they have control over their lives. So says a weekly reader survey of kids in 4th, 5th, and 6th grades. In 1989, 81% of 60,000 students surveyed felt they would determine their futures. Now, only 69% feel that way. The survey also shows more than half of the students expect to graduate from college, with about 1 in 4 opting to live at home during their college years. That's up from the 89 survey. We're going to hear from parents on that one. And finally, we've been showing you the length some teachers go to get their students to read, stunts like eating worms and a male teacher dressing up as a Barbie doll. Today we take you to Emory Elementary in sunny California, where they're a little more sensible, sorta. The principal and assistant principal agreed to take part in a pie-eating contest if the students logged 2 million minutes of reading by the end of the school year. As you can see, the students lived up to their end of the bargain. As for who won the contest, the assistant principal out-ate her boss. That makes her the winner? I don't get it.
Pretty messy.
I'll tell you what, Barbara, you read kids' issues and I'll eat the pie.
Okay.
Such a deal.
All right.
All right, we'll see you later.
And more still ahead as 6 Action News rolls on. English soccer fans once again on the rampage. Details coming up on World Watch.
A sobering reunion for some United States senators. You'll hear why they were back at a Vietnam POW camp.
And also had a rare sight, an alligator decked out completely in white. It's all straight ahead.
Experience the joy of new with a new Ford every 2 years. Right now, lease a 93 Ford Escort for just $169 a month for 24 months. And these Escorts are loaded with value like air, AM/FM stereo cassette, and more. You'll enjoy low monthly payments, a low down payment, and no trade-in hassles. Plus, you won't be stuck in a 4 or 5 year deal. So